Chapter 1169. Within the Sacred Academy, many experts stared in the direction of the Shizhong wall. If it was just a single tremor, it would be normal and they wouldn't pay too much attention to it. But for the wall to tremble so many times in such a short period of time, it was extremely abnormal. The experts of the Sacred Academy were all waiting to see who it was that caused the Shizhong wall to tremble. Before the Shizhong wall, the gazes of the experts were all focused on Qin Wentian. They had personally witnessed Qin Wentian advancing, and they clearly understood how shocking Qin Wentian's achievements were. Qin Wentian, from the first step, he directly advanced to the 74th step. In the history of the Sacred Academy, there had never been anyone who could achieve such a feat, not even that person. Occasionally, the crowd saw a silhouette standing beside Qin Wentian. It was Gu Xiao from the Supreme Sword School. He used the 76th step to counterattack Qin Wentian. At that time, Qin Wentian was still over 50 steps away, but now, the gap between the two of them was actually only 2 steps. Although at this level, 2 steps was like a heavenly moat, extremely difficult to cross, the spectators no longer thought so. Because Qin Wentian stepped forward in a single breath. This indicated that Qin Wentian could easily accomplish what Gu Xiao did. However, Gu Xiao wouldn't be able to do what Qin Wentian did. Even if Qin Wentian had yet to surpass Gu Xiao, it was already clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Not only that, as long as Qin Wentian could stabilize the violent energy in his body, these 2 steps wouldn't pose a problem to him. Naturally, they also understood that these 2 steps were extremely difficult. If they were not careful, Qin Wentian's life might be taken away. The 74th step. At this moment, Qin Wentian could clearly feel the terrifying pressure. The drumbeats reverberated from the inside out, incomparably violent. For the last 9 steps, each step he took caused his attribute energy to increase exponentially. He knew that if he continued, the might of the steps would be even more terrifying. The further he went, the more difficult it would be. Drawing in a deep breath, Qin Wentian closed his eyes. The rumbling sounds in his body seemed to be ceaseless. His bloodline was roaring frenziedly, transforming into a sea of blood. That sea of blood churned violently as countless bell chimes blasted out, wanting to destroy it. At the same time, Qin Wentian's body was also enduring the fearsome attacks. The attribute energies gushed into his bones, unceasingly cleansing his body. He could faintly sense that all of his bones were ringing with the power of a bell. This time, Qin Wentian paused for a long time. Everyone stared at him, waiting quietly. To be able to reach this step, how difficult was it? Even if Qin Wentian couldn't continue, it was already enough for him to be proud of himself. But just when they were feeling doubtful, Qin Wentian lifted his foot and took another step forward. On the stone bell rampart, boundless resplendent light flashed, shooting up into the clouds as terrifying bell chimes blasted into his body. A supreme immortal might directly permeated his body, causing Qin Wentian's body to tremble violently, as though he would be destroyed at any moment. At this moment, the entire Sacred Academy trembled once more. The 75th step. Everyone was speechless. The formation on the ground was akin to the shock in their hearts. In the end, Qin Wentian still managed to take the 75th step. But at this moment, their eyes abruptly narrowed. They only saw Qin Wentian advancing once more. An extremely oppressive aura engulfed the entire space, causing the entire area to tremble unceasingly. This time around, Qin Wentian took 2 steps forward, directly reaching the 76th step, standing shoulder to shoulder with Gu Xiao. The crowd stared fixedly ahead, staring at Qin Wentian's trembling body. As the frequency of the trembling slowed, Qin Wentian's body also gradually stabilized. His long robes fluttered in the wind as he stood there, as though he was the only existence in the entire world. In such a short period of time, Qin Wentian had already taken the 76th step, accomplishing something that everyone thought was impossible. Gu Xiao had spent a long time before he reached this step. In fact, from the 75th step to the 76th step, he had spent a long time preparing for it. Before this, Gu Xiao used the 76th step to forcefully respond to Qin Wentian, because he felt that this step was his pride and Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to accomplish it. But Qin Wentian did it. In fact, he did it on the spot. At this moment, Gu Zhao's countenance sank. He was speechless. The hymn now, what else could he say? The 76th step, is it very strong? Qin Wentian turned his gaze ahead. He didn't look at Gu Xiao as he calmly spoke. However, his words were like a resounding slap to Gu Zhao's face. Earlier when Qin Wentian spoke these words, everyone felt that he didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. They felt that he was arrogant and ignorant. But at this moment, no one felt that way anymore. Because Qin Wentian himself was already standing at the 76th step. When Gu Xiao heard Qin Wentian's words, he actually didn't know how to refute. Qin Wentian used the truth to slap his face. Unless he could do what Qin Wentian did, no matter what he said, it would all be useless. The ground continued to tremble. The tremors continued for a long time. Yingting, who had fainted earlier, slowly woke up. He glanced ahead and saw the location where Qin Wentian was standing at. He only felt a stifling sensation in his chest as he coughed out another mouthful of blood. His countenance was as pale as paper, devoid of any color. From afar, many experts sped over. Evidently, the commotion at the Shizhong Wall had attracted many geniuses over. When they saw that the person who caused the commotion at the Sacred Academy wasn't Gu Xiao, nor was he from the myriad Devil Islands or the Sinluo Immortal Empire, all of them had shocked expressions on their faces. This person didn't seem to be at the Shizhong Wall earlier, right? Could it be that he just arrived recently and directly stepped into the Shizhong Wall? Damn, it's him. Many people came to the place where Qin Wentian was before. When they saw Qin Wentian's silhouette, all of them couldn't help but to rub their eyes. What's wrong with this world? Didn't he just arrive here? 76 steps? It hasn't even been an hour, right? He actually took 76 steps? This is too crazy. This fellow is truly going to rise to fame in a single day. Who said that he just entered the Sacred Academy? As the saying goes, he must be someone from another Sacred Academy, and is here to challenge our entire Sacred Academy. That's right, directly taking 76 steps. This is a challenge, suppressing everyone. As the voices of discussion rang out, only now did everyone know that Qin Wentian actually took 76 steps. How terrifying. Proclaiming yourself as a king, and actually thinking that you are a king? You don't know how high the heavens are and how many geniuses are there. Qin Wentian's entire body radiated a terrifying might. He closed his eyes and stood there as he coldly spoke. He didn't come here for Gu Xiao. It was Gu Xiao who spoke so rudely. In that case, he naturally wouldn't mind suppressing Gu Xiao's arrogance. He, Qin Wentian, had never been a magnanimous person. He would repay kindness with kindness and repay grudges with grudges. The Supreme Sword School participated in the adjudication battle. No matter how one looked at it, there was no need for him to be polite to Gu Xiao. Gu Xiao's entire body felt as though there were tens of thousands of swords galloping around him. At this moment, his aura actually started to fluctuate. He had no way to maintain his composure. But at this very moment, Qin Wentian lifted his foot again and took the 77th step. Boom! A powerful bell chime reverberated through the air. Beams of light shot up into the sky, causing the earth to tremble. On the surface of the Shizhong Wall, the divine inscriptions on the Shizhong Wall frenziedly focused on Qin Wentian. Other than the boundless might gushing over, there was also a terrifying surge of immortal energy gushing over from the heavens and earth. For a period of time, a heaven-shaking tempest manifested. Innate King of Swords? Can you do this step? Qin Wentian didn't turn his head. He stared ahead as he spoke. But everyone understood who he was talking to. Gu Xiao also understood. Qin Wentian's voice was accompanied by the chimes of the bell, ringing out in Gu Xiao's heart. The aura in his body started to grow chaotic, like a tempest, unable to be stabilized. With a thunderous roar, sword intent gushed forth from the heavens and earth, frenziedly wreaking havoc. However, an even stronger might erupted forth from the Shizhong Wall, unceasingly slamming into Gu Xiao's body. At this moment, Gu Xiao finally couldn't endure it any longer, and was directly flung through the air. In an instant, his body was pierced through by tens of thousands of swords as fresh blood gushed out unceasingly. Gu Xiao. The countenances of several experts drastically changed. They soared into the air and caught Gu Xiao's body. Their countenances were ashen. Gu Xiao was actually forced out of the Shizhong wall by Qin Wentian using words, and was heavily injured, subduing the enemy without even fighting. What a powerful character. Everyone felt shock in their hearts. They understood the Shizhong wall. If they couldn't defend it, they would suffer a backlash from the supreme might of the Shizhong wall, and might even be killed on the spot. Qin Wentian domineeringly surpassed Gu Xiao, and used words to provoke him. Even for someone as strong as Gu Xiao, he couldn't control his heart, and fell into Qin Wentian's trap. This fellow was truly merciless to his enemies. Qin Wentian disturbed Gu Xiao's state of mind, causing him to be injured. However, he himself closed his eyes and guarded his heart, not allowing the Shizhong wall to have any chance to exploit him. That boundless energy gushed through his muscles, bones, flesh and blood, as well as his immortal foundation. Qin Wentian's comprehension of the attribute energies he possessed grew deeper and deeper, wanting to infuse them into every single particle of his body. More and more experts rushed over. Qin Wentian himself closed his eyes. 2 hours later, he lifted his foot and stepped out once more. The 78th step landed. The space trembled once more. This time around, Qin Wentian paused for an even longer period of time. Only after several hours did the energy in his body accumulate to the point of eruption. Only then did he step out once more. The 79th step landed. The sacred academy trembled as light towered up into the sky. All the geniuses stared at Qin Wentian as shock filled their hearts. There was actually someone who could consecutively take 79 steps in a single day. This was unprecedented, and it would be hard for anyone to accomplish this in the future. Just 2 more steps and he would be able to bring this miracle to an end. However, would Qin Wentian be able to do it? At this moment, everyone could see the trembling of Qin Wentian's body. Boundless energy gathered in his body, unable to erupt. Once it erupted, it would be able to shake the heavens and earth. This time around, Qin Wentian didn't step out for a very long time. However, everyone was waiting. They stood at their original locations, wanting to see if he could complete the last 2 steps or not. Half a day later, Qin Wentian finally moved. As the 80th step landed, the supreme might of the Shizhong wall entered his body. Boundless bell chimes reverberated through the air. Qin Wentian's body transformed into an ancient bell of heaven and earth, causing the entire sacred academy to tremble. Qin Wentian completed the 80th step. Only the last step was left. At this moment, more and more experts gathered. Even Huang Wudi was here. The faces of the people from the 9 emperors' immortal state were ashen. They were guarding the entrance, but Qin Wentian had slipped in. Just 1 more step and Qin Wentian would be able to do what that existence from the 9 emperors' immortal state had done. Huang Wudi looked at Qin Wentian and suddenly shouted, "Qin Wentian, he has officially announced that he will pursue the daughter of Evergreen Qing Since he has spoken, from now on Qing is his woman, the woman of the 9 emperors' immortal state." Everyone's eyes flashed. This Huang Wudi, without a doubt, was trying to disrupt Qin Wentian's indomitable will. At this moment, if there was even the slightest mistake, Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to take the last step, and he might even be consigned to eternal damnation. Huang Wudi's voice was ruthless enough. Chapter 1170. Huang Wudi's voice boomed out. Qin Wentian clearly heard it. Before this, Qin Wentian used words to provoke Gu Xiao, causing Gu Xiao's state of mind to waver, resulting in him being heavily injured by the Shizhong wall. And now, Huang Wudi wanted to use a similar method to force Qin Wentian to lose control of his state of mind. The him Huang Wudi was referring to was naturally that peak-level character, who once completed the 81 steps and established his saint-grade immortal foundation. It was rumored that he once said that the daughter of the Chongqing the Great wasn't bad, and many people believed that Qing would become his woman. Also, Qin Wentian seemed to have an extraordinary relationship with that young man. In that case, Huang Wudi's words at this moment would undoubtedly cause Qin Wentian to be in a very miserable state. Qin Wentian had already completed the 80th step. It was much more dangerous compared to Gu Zhao's 76th step. The people of the 9 emperors' immortal state didn't wish to see him completing the 81st step, accomplishing what the supreme genius of their 9 emperors' immortal state had done. He said they are his women, so they are his women. What a joke. Can he do what Qin Wentian did, consecutively completing the 80th step on the Shizhong wall? All of a sudden, a voice rang out coldly. In that case, Qin Wentian said that he is the princess of your 9 emperors' immortal state, and all the princesses are his women. Does your 9 emperors' immortal state have to send all the princesses up there? The gazes of everyone turned to the person who spoke only to see a group of people standing together, exuding an extraordinary aura. Also, the auras they exuded were all somewhat similar. I will remember this sentence of yours. Huang Wudi stared at the person who spoke with no expression on his face. After that, he turned his gaze back to Qin Wentian, whose aura was fluctuating wildly. Once upon a time, there were a few outstanding geniuses who managed to reach the 80th step. However, all of them failed at the final step, causing cracks to appear on their immortal foundations. Only that younger brother of his managed to break through and establish a perfect saint-grade immortal foundation, reaching the 81st step. Wanting to complete this step might be even more difficult compared to the previous 80 steps added together. He wanted to see Qin Wentian being forced down. Qin Wentian naturally also heard Huang Wudi's words. At this moment, he was currently enduring an overwhelming force. The countless particles in his body seemed to be filled with that force. The bell chimes rang unceasingly as his body trembled unceasingly. At this moment, if his state of mind was affected by Huang Wudi's words, even Qin Wentian himself admitted that he would be heavily injured. In fact, his body might even shatter and shatter. But would Qin Wentian be affected by a single sentence from Qin Wentian? Would the feelings between him and Qing'er be distorted by a single sentence from Huang Wudi? Qin Wentian didn't know who he was, but he knew who he was and who Qing'er was. Boundless energy circulated within Qin Wentian. At this instant, Qin Wentian's body seemed to contain a powerful encompassing energy. After that, under the shocked gazes of everyone, he actually didn't stop to calm the violent energy. Instead, he lifted his foot and stepped forward. This fellow. The eyes of everyone widened as their hearts pounded. He actually wanted to take the 80th step and the 81st step? Has he gone mad? Boundless energy gushed forth from the Shizhong wall, engulfing the entire space. A supreme might gushed forth, converging into a tempest that gushed into Qin Wentian's body. The wind and clouds howled in the airspace above the sacred academy. At this instant, the geniuses who were cultivating far away all inclined their heads and stared at the sacred academy. Such a scene had only appeared once before in the sacred academy. Once, there was a prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state named Shatian. He took the 81st step on the Shizhong wall, causing the sacred academy to shake as the wind and clouds howled. He broke through to the immortal foundation realm, and from then on, there was no one in the sacred academy who didn't know of Huang Shatian. After that, there were several other powerful geniuses who went to challenge Huang Shatian. Without exception, all of them were crushed by the cruelest of methods. After a few battles, no one else dared to challenge Huang Shatian. And today, the sacred academy shook once again. The rumbling of the wind and clouds, as well as the tremors of the earth, felt like déjà vu. At the location where the Shizhong wall was located, a supreme aura gushed forth, gushing towards the sacred academy. Qin Wentian's foot landed on the ground. The supreme energy bore down on Qin Wentian, frenziedly battering his body. Qin Wentian's body trembled violently, like a candle flickering in the wind, about to be extinguished at any moment. The tyrannical attribute energies gushed into him, causing Qin Wentian's saint-grade immortal foundation to tremble violently, emitting cracking sounds as though it was on the verge of shattering. Only to see Qin Wentian's eyes were tightly shut as boundless energy gushed into his body. Faintly, he could feel a surge of immortal might. If he resisted, he would only be destroyed, crushed by this might. The bell chimes rang out unceasingly. His body was unable to endure it any longer. He could sense the attribute energies gushing into his body. Every single part of his body was filled with bell chimes. These bell chimes gushed into his mind, resonating with his past, evoking his memories. He recalled his cultivation experiences from when he was young until now. He recalled the condensation of each of his astral souls. He recalled the love he had with Qingqing back in Chu. And he recalled the time when Qing'er protected him. These bell chimes were like the bells of the great Tao. At that instant, he no longer madly resisted that irresistible power. Instead, he let nature take its course and allowed it to cleanse his body. Bell chimes seeped out from every part of his body, and when they spread out, they gathered into the sound of the great Tao that resounded in the world. Everyone stared nervously at Qin Wentian's silhouette. At this moment, more and more experts rushed over, staring in shock at the scene before them. There was actually another person who managed to take the final step out of the Shizhong wall. It was just that in the past, only one person succeeded. Would this person be able to stand firm on the final step? In the midst of the boundless tempest, Qin Wentian's body seemed extremely tiny. However, his conviction was extremely strong. At this moment, he inclined his head and stared at the sky as a warm smile flashed in his eyes. In his gaze, the tempest in the sky seemed to converge into the form of Qing'er's beautiful silhouette. Incomparably terrifying bell chimes gushed forth from Qin Wentian's body. At this moment, the sound of the bell chimes transformed into the sound of flowing water, echoing throughout the heavens and earth. "Qing'er, I miss you." This voice seemed to echo out together with the bell chimes, ringing out to every corner of this sacred academy. At this moment, even those who didn't rush over all inclined their heads and stared up at the sky. When the bell chimes rang out by their ears, they could actually sense a deep sense of camaraderie, as well as longing for their loved ones or loved ones. What a powerful intent. Everyone sighed in their hearts. They were all powerful stellar martial cultivators. Yet the sound of the great Tao that accompanied the bell chimes actually caused them to feel an intense sense of camaraderie, causing them to sink into it. This person at the Shizhong wall completed the 81 steps, becoming the second person in the sacred academy to do so. 81 steps on the Shizhong wall, all for the sake of telling the girl named Qing'er that I miss you. Everyone sighed in their hearts. How glorious was this! This was even more admirable compared to those who pursued strength. For the sake of a single sentence, he stepped on the Shizhong wall, not fearing danger. Most probably, it would be hard to find a second person like this in the sacred academy. In a certain direction of the sacred academy, a group of beautiful maidens stood there. They were all feeling shock in their hearts, trying to guess who it was that managed to successfully temper himself on the Shizhong wall, causing the entire sacred academy to tremble. At this moment, a voice drifted over. "Qing'er, I miss you." This voice rang out together with the bell chimes, resonating in their hearts, causing them to unknowingly feel a sense of warmth in their hearts. They could clearly feel the longing in their hearts. Several maidens turned their gazes over, staring at the Shizhong wall. Their beautiful eyes all gleamed with a bright light. There was actually someone who wanted to borrow the Shizhong wall to express their longing to her. That Shizhong wall was none other than Qing'er. The voice of longing rang out together with the bell chimes, as though it was just an inch away from her, speaking to her. At this moment, the coldness on her face instantly melted away. Her beautiful eyes similarly flickered with a hint of longing. With a flash, Qing'er's silhouette flickered as she sped forward. How could she not know who this voice originated from? How could she not feel the emotions in that voice? The maidens behind her exchanged glances only to hear one of them laughing. How romantic! As they spoke, their silhouettes flickered as well, following behind Qing'er, rushing towards the Shizhong wall. Qing'er heard it. Huang Shatian naturally heard it as well. Everyone in the sacred academy heard it as well. The spectating heavens chosen also rushed towards the Shizhong wall. They all wanted to see what kind of person was able to complete the 81 steps of the Shizhong wall, to express his longing. Not only that, the people of the sacred academy would never forget the existence of Huang Shatian. This cultivator had already accomplished a miracle before today. The people of the sacred academy would never forget his evaluation of Qing'er. Many people believed that Qing'er would be his woman. In that case, this heaven's chosen who had also completed the 81 steps of the Shizhong wall. Was this considered a formal reply to Huang Shatian? Before the Shizhong wall, everyone stared at Qin Wentian. Boundless energy from the heavens and earth flowed into the Shizhong wall, transforming into supreme energy that rushed into Qin Wentian's body. After that, the energy then flowed out from Qin Wentian's body, circulating like this, transforming into ancient bell chimes, causing the words of longing to reverberate unceasingly in the air. Such a confession was sufficient to cause the jealousy of many women. More and more people arrived before the Shizhong wall. When they saw the silhouette of Qin Wentian, that young man basking in boundless light, the glow of his immortal foundation grew increasingly resplendent. He stood stably on the 81 steps, creating another miracle other than Huang Shatian. A miracle that no one else could break. Could it be that for the final step, only those with a saint-grade immortal foundation would be able to endure it? A thought appeared in the hearts of everyone. Huang Shatian established his saint-grade immortal foundation there. Hence he succeeded. Qin Wentian himself originally had a saint-grade immortal foundation, yet he succeeded as well. Also, Qin Wentian's success was even more shocking compared to Huang Shaishan's. Within a single day he completed the 81 steps. These 81 steps were a form of longing for Qing'er, and also a reply to the experts of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Chapter 1171. Qin Wentian still stood in front of the Shizhong wall, as though he was undergoing the baptism of the Shizhong wall. The sound of the bell of remembrance reverberated unceasingly. Qin Wentian's immortal foundation was extremely resplendent as his immortal might soared up bit by bit. His bones and blood were all infused with his own attribute energy, causing his body of flesh and blood to become even more perfect. This fellow has a Fian celestial-like body. Originally, it was already perfect enough. Now that he has undergone the baptism of the Shizhong wall, his body would surely become even more flawless. Everyone mused silently. Given this young man's talent, if it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation base was slightly lower, he would most probably be another character on the level of Huang Shatian, able to roam unhindered in the sacred academy. However, Qin Wentian's potential was absolutely shocking. In the future, he would definitely be a terrifying character. One could foresee that as long as he didn't die, he would definitely have a place in the immortal realms in the future. The experts of the 9 emperors' immortal state all had unsightly expressions on their faces. Qin Wentian ultimately still took the final step. The supreme character of their 9 emperors' immortal state, Huang Shatian, was no longer the only one. Also, Qin Wentian borrowed the Shizhong wall to announce that he missed Qing'er of the Sacred Academy. From their point of view, this was undoubtedly a form of retaliation against them. At this moment, many of the people gathered in front of the Shizhong wall recognized Qin Wentian. Before this, the Sacred Academy that Qin Wentian was in was mostly filled with demonic beasts or demonic cultivators. But in this Sacred Academy, there were even more human cultivators. There were experts from all the major powers in the immortal realms scattered here. For example, Yingting and some of the experts from the Ying clan, some experts from the Namhuang clan, Jiang Ziyu and some experts from the Jiang clan, Tenlan Heaven Kingdom, Dongshengshan Gate, Ziti Sect, Supreme Sword School, Celestial Palace, etc. There were experts of different levels in this sacred academy. At this moment, there were naturally some who appeared here. They all recognized Qin Wentian. Other than this, there were naturally many disciples from the heavenly talisman realm, as well as experts from the Battle Saint tribe. When they heard Qing'er's voice, they instantly knew who was in front of the Shizhong wall and immediately rushed here. At this moment, the Shizhong wall could truly be said to be a gathering of geniuses. Experts gathered here because of the bell chime by Qin Wentian. At this moment, a commotion broke out among the crowd, after which sounds of battle rang out. The gazes of everyone turned over only to see a group of maidens rushing over. One of them was an iceberg-like beauty who stood in the middle, staring in the direction of Qin Wentian. In her crystal-clear eyes, it was as though only Qin Wentian existed. The daughter of the Chongqing the Great, the disciple of GD, Qing'er has arrived. Many experts in the immortal realms knew that the young daughter of the Chongqing the Great was sent away when she was young, and was only brought back to the immortal empire after that. The Princess Qing'er was conferred the title of Qing'er, but not many people knew her real name. Many people thought that Qing'er was the name of Princess Qing'er, Evergreen Qing'er. This name wasn't very pleasant to the ears, but one could faintly sense the doting love the Chongqing the Great had for this young daughter of his. Naturally, there was no way to verify the truth. The crowd wasn't too interested in this. It was sufficient as long as they knew who she was. The people who blocked the path of Qing'er and her group were experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state, Huang Wuti and the others. What do you all mean by this? The experts beside Qing'er were none other than her sisters, disciples of GD. GD was the female immortal emperor, whose name shook the eastern regions. Her strength was extremely strong, and the female disciples under her were all extraordinary characters. Qing'er joined the sect later, and was considered the junior apprentice sister among her sisters. Hence, these female disciples took good care of her. What is Princess Qing'er doing here? Huang Wuti asked. Does this have anything to do with you? The expressions of the female disciples beside Qing'er turned cold. During this period of time, they had been accompanying Qing'er and had encountered quite a lot of harassment. How could they not be clear about the matters of the 9 Emperors' immortal state? These self-righteous fellows, just based on a single sentence, and they thought that Qing'er would be Huang Shaishan's woman? The matters of my younger brother naturally have something to do with our 9 Emperors' immortal state. Princess Qing'er, it's best for you not to get too close to men. In case my younger brother misunderstands, Huang Wuti spoke. Instantly, the countenances of Qing'er and her group turned cold. Step aside. Qing'er's countenance was as cold as ice. She slowly walked forward, the feeling of longing was still there. Qin Wentian was right in front of her. How could she not miss him? No one could stop her. As for the people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, she didn't know them at all, and had never placed them in her heart. The auras from the experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state gushed forth. Before this, they had already lost a battle. Huang Yuti was humiliated by Qin Wentian. This time, the matter concerned the most outstanding prince of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, Huang Shatian. No matter what, they couldn't lose face again, even if they knew that it was rude to do so. However, they were also rude. An intense spatial light shone from Qing'er's body. The senior sisters around her moved forward at the same time. Each of them radiated powerful spatial energy. Only to see Qing'er's silhouette flickering in the air, it was almost impossible to catch her movements. Among the many attribute energies, spatial energy was definitely one of the most unique and powerful. Boom! From Huang Wuti, a fearsome sword might slashed apart the void. As the light flashed, the entire space was actually locked down. As expected, the maidens all had unsightly expressions on their faces. Although Huang Wuti wasn't as famous as Huang Shatian, he was also an extremely terrifying existence. This was especially so since he had already broken through to the 9th level of Immortal Foundation. Everyone, I apologize for my offense. Huang Wuti stood in the air. With him as the center, the entire space was enveloped by sword light, not allowing Qing'er to advance. Leave this to me. A female stepped out. Her cultivation base was also at the 9th level of Immortal Foundation, and she was the strongest among the disciples of GD, who entered the Sacred Academy. The spatial light radiating from her was incomparably resplendent. GD was proficient in spatial energy, and all the disciples she accepted had the talent to control spatial energy. Numerous void swords appeared on the body of this woman. All of a sudden, she swung them out, slashing at Huang Wuti. At the same time, she sliced through the barrier of swords that was obstructing her. With a flash, Qing'er and the others walked out of the barrier. But at this moment, several experts appeared before them. One of them coldly laughed. Princess Qing'er, please don't forget the verdict of the eastern regions. According to the agreement, Princess Qing'er is now a woman belonging to our Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Sooner or later, she would have to marry into our Sky Mist Kingdom. I hope that Princess Qing'er can conduct herself with dignity. You guys are the ones who made the decision. Yet you want others to follow it? What bullshit verdict of the immortal realms? A disciple of GD with an explosive temper cursed in anger. This verdict was approved by the major powers of the eastern regions. Although you are a disciple of GD, aren't your words a little too rude? Gu Xiao from the Supreme Sword School spoke. Before this, he was injured by Qin Wentian's words, and even now, his aura was still fluctuating and he had yet to fully recover. Are you guys trying to restrict the freedom of the disciples of my sect, GD? The voices of the female disciples turned cold. These people were too ridiculous. Qin Wentian was still enduring the cleansing of the Shizhong Wall. But at this moment he also knew that Qing'er had arrived. His eyes abruptly opened and an instant later, the heavens and earth trembled violently. He actually took the initiative to break free from the cleansing of the Shizhong wall. After that he stepped out from the footprint. He gave up. He actually gave up such an opportunity. Seems like there was no falsehood in the words he said earlier. Everyone sighed. Stepping on the 81 steps of the Shizhong wall, enduring the cleansing. What a rare opportunity this was. Others yearned for it, but Qin Wentian actually took the initiative to step out at this moment. Qin Wentian turned his head and stepped out. In an instant he appeared in front of Qing'er. His gaze was filled with gentleness as he stared at that beautiful figure that had calmed down. Qing'er was getting more and more beautiful. It has been over 30 years since they last met. Qin Wentian felt as though he had been separated from her for a lifetime. His eyes were actually unwilling to part from her for even a moment. Qing'er seemed to have sensed Qin Wentian's burning gaze. She faintly avoided Qin Wentian's gaze. That cold and beautiful countenance actually revealed a hint of shyness, causing Qin Wentian to be somewhat dazed. However, what made Qin Wentian unhappy was that between him and Qing'er, there were actually people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Hasn't the face of the 9 Emperors' immortal state been slapped swollen? How do you still have the face to stand here? At this moment a voice was heard. It was actually Jun Mingchen and the others who had returned from another sacred academy. Previously, when they were being chased, some escaped, and some sought death and left the sky-connecting world. However, Qin Wentian had already sent a voice transmission to them, asking them to gather at this sacred academy. Previously, Huang Yudi claimed to be a match for the entire world. He arrogantly said that his words were the truth. He wanted my senior brother to say such rude words. What was the result? He was attacked by my senior brother, who was a realm higher than him, and had no way to retaliate. In the end he had to say that he was wrong. Such a great shame and humiliation. Yet your 9 Emperors' immortal state could actually forget it so quickly. It's really admirable. The expressions of everyone flashed. The 4 sacred academies were connected, and they knew of Huang Shatian. They naturally had also heard of Huang Yudi before. Huang Shaishan's talent was outstanding, and was said to be a match for the entire world. His talent was even more outstanding compared to Huang Wudi. Yet he actually lost to Qin Wentian? This young man who created history was truly terrifying. Not only for Jun Mingchen and the others, at this moment, many experts also walked out from the crowd. These were the experts from the Battle Saint tribe, as well as the disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm in this sacred academy. To the Battle Saint tribe, Qin Wentian was the Saint Lord. As for those from the Heavenly Talisman realm, there were some who didn't want their juniors to be bullied by others. For a period of time, the number of experts gathered in that area. Qin Wentian and the others formed a counter-encirclement. But at this moment, the experts from the Supreme Sword School also walked out from the crowd. How lively! Another voice rang out. A disciple from Zidi's sect walked out. It was none other than the person who harassed Qing'er back then. Other than him, there were several other disciples from Zidi's sect who stepped out as well. Such a chaotic scene caused expressions of interest to appear on the faces of everyone. Qin Wentian completed the 81 steps in front of the Shizhong wall and created history. The bell chimes transformed into thoughts of remembrance, attracting the experts from the sacred academy to gather here. It seemed like a great commotion was about to occur. Chapter 1172. The atmosphere in front of the Shizhong wall was extremely stifling. Experts from the various powers walked out one after another, and the number of spectators grew even more. At this moment, they also understood that the eastern regions of the immortal realm seemed to have initiated the adjudication battle. Many powers joined forces to deal with the Evergreen Kingdom, and Qin Wentian had formed a grudge with many powers because of this matter. So many enemies, but his cultivation base isn't high enough. Everyone laughed as they stared at Qin Wentian. They were all filled with admiration for Qin Wentian, but they couldn't mask the fact that Qin Wentian's cultivation base was still too low. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, the vast majority of people had already improved. Although the 5th level of Immortal Foundation couldn't be considered weak, it couldn't be considered strong either. Things are indeed troublesome. If one wants to become an incomparably dazzling character, they are destined to be surrounded by enemies. Let alone Qin Wentian. Back then when Huang Shatian broke through to the 81st step, he attracted countless enemies. Huang Shatian relied on his overwhelming strength to kill so many that no one dared to challenge him. He provoked many enemies but no one dared to make a move against him, or maybe they couldn't. They silently mused in their hearts. For those who wanted to stand at the peak, they had to endure the strongest challenges. It was extremely rare for an ancient emperor to appear in an era. For those ancient emperors in history, which one of them didn't trample on the corpses of countless experts as they advanced, killing their way to the peak of the immortal realms, becoming unrivaled under the heavens? The growth of each ancient emperor could be described as a battle epic. Qin Wentian, the people around him all treated him as the center. But his opponents all viewed him as their enemy, wanting to destroy him. Interesting, this is the first time I've seen such an interesting thing. At this moment, another voice drifted over. From the crowd, 3 monks walked out. However, other than one of them who was bald, the other 2 had hair on. This was especially so for the monk on the left. Although he was clad in monk robes, he was extraordinarily handsome and exuded an elegant demeanor. The one who spoke was the monk in the middle. He walked over and laughed in a low voice. What era is this in the immortal realms? You actually dare to forcefully snatch beauties? Qin Wentian rolled his eyes when he heard this. This person was none other than the monk Wuxia. Not far away from them, there was a group of fairy-like beauties. They were none other than the fairies of the Jadestige Immortal Palace. What era is this? Even monks like to meddle in other people's business. Zidi's disciple snorted coldly, his expression slightly unfriendly. Senior brother, he dares to discriminate against us monks. Wuxia hid behind the handsome monk on the left and pointed at the Zidi disciple. If you can be a busybody, why can't monks be a busybody? That handsome monk exuded a heroic aura as he coldly snorted at the Violet Emperor's disciple. Faintly, a terrifying might gushed forth, enveloping the Violet Emperor's disciple. This monk naturally can't meddle in other people's business. Zidi's disciple said, "You are speaking nonsense. So what if I interfere? What about you?" The handsome monk domineeringly spoke, his words causing the Zidi disciple's aura to similarly surge forth. He coldly spoke, "Why don't you try it? Senior brother, he insulted you." Monk Wuxia pointed at the Zidi disciple as he spoke. After that, the monk's kasaya fluttered as his aura was like a raging storm. Chi. A loud shout rang out as a fearsome Buddhist energy blasted out. That Zidi disciple's face instantly turned red, feeling extremely unbearable. After that he was forced to retreat and with a groan of misery, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His palm was placed on his chest as his expression turned extremely ugly. The Zidi disciples all stepped out as their auras surged forth. A terrifying tempest manifested, and their countenances turned ashen. This monk was actually so powerful, injuring one of their fellow disciples with a single shout. What ability was this? You are truly impudent. One of them coldly spoke. The sudden appearance of this domineering monk caused a strange expression to appear on the faces of everyone. How tyrannical! For such a monk to appear in the immortal realms, some people had already guessed where they came from. Naturally, some of the major powers in the central regions, like the 9 emperors' immortal state, already knew of the identities of these people. Such an unreasonable monk. I'm afraid only the monks of Wenxin Temple would do such a thing. Huang Wudi had an unhappy expression on his face. Although he wasn't familiar with the Zidi disciple, they were after all on the same side. What is reason? The handsome monk stared at Huang Wudi as he asked. Senior brother, what he means is that they are in the right when they snatch our disciples. Because they are strong and we are unreasonable. He might feel that we are weaker. Monk Wuxia hid behind his senior brother as he mumbled. Junior brother, I know, I just wanted to ask him. That handsome monk gently spoke, no longer as tyrannical as before. His words caused everyone to be speechless. The monks from Wenxin Temple had always been famous for being unreasonable. However, This was the first time many people witnessed it. One was tyrannical and domineering, one was shameless, and there was even one who didn't want to speak at all. This time, there are only 3 monks from Wuxia Temple who entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy: Buyu, Buchan, and Wuxia. Master Buyu has always been quiet, and Wuxia is also a person who behaves like his Buddhist name. Only Buchan has a fiery temper. You must be, sir. However, the 9 emperors' immortal state and Wuxia Temple have never had any conflicts. The matters here are the matters of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Why would Wuxia Temple interfere? Huang Wudi spoke, his words causing strange expressions to appear on the faces of many. This Huang Wudi was actually so polite to the 3 monks of the Ascart Temple? This didn't seem to be his style. If he could suppress his opponents with his strength, Huang Wudi would always believe that his fists were the law. Junior brother, why should we interfere? Buchan stared at Wuxia as he asked. Senior brother, as cultivators of the Buddhist sect, we pay particular attention to the state of our hearts. Back then, this brother Qin helped me before, I naturally have to repay him. Since you are my senior brother, my matters are naturally your matters as well. Wuxia seriously spoke. Everyone was speechless. These 2 monks had a state of mind of their own? Junior brother's words make sense. Buchan nodded in agreement. He stared at Huang Wudi. You have also heard it. Brother Qin's matters are my matters as well. Have you guys had enough? The people from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom were somewhat unhappy. Not enough? What should we do? Buchan stared at the person who spoke. He didn't seem to be angry at all. Boom. An expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stepped out. Since it wasn't enough, they could only fight. The cultivation base of this person was extremely powerful, at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation. He coldly roared, "Scram out here." Senior brother, he... Wuxia's eyes widened, he couldn't help but shiver. He silently prayed for this person. There were truly people who weren't afraid of death. Buchan was extremely calm, there was no expression on his face. However, his brows twitched slightly. Those who were familiar with him all knew that this was a sign of danger. I'm used to walking. How would I know how to roll? Buchan walked out. The auras of the 2 of them suddenly turned violent. That expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom lifted his hand to attack as a supremely powerful divine elephant smashed out, smashing towards Buchan. Ai, why must you do this? Wuxia sighed. As the sound of his voice faded, boundless Buddhic light radiated from Buchan. He was like a golden Buddha as millions of palm imprints appeared, directly dragging the divine elephant over. At the same time, many more palm imprints shot out, blasting towards that expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The countenance of that person changed. He unceasingly blasted out divine elephant energy, exuding an incomparably tyrannical might. However, he only saw numerous gigantic palm imprints blasting over, causing the space around him to tremble unceasingly. The terrifying palm imprints whistled through the air, enveloping this entire space. That expert from the Skymist Immortal Empire explosively retreated. The gigantic palm imprints extended outwards, directly trapping his opponent within. The palm imprints transformed into a sealed space. The spectators couldn't even see the silhouette of the Skymist Immortal Empire's expert. After that, rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. Only the terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. Wuxia sighed unceasingly, as though he couldn't bear to watch on. The countenances of those experts from the Skymist Immortal Empire all changed. However, everything ended very quickly. When the millions of arms retracted, everyone saw that powerful expert from the Skymist Immortal Empire lying on the ground convulsing uncontrollably. His entire body was swollen as he coughed out blood and white foam. Most probably, this battle would become his nightmare. My senior brother is more low profile and has a good temper, but you guys can't insult him. Wuxia was a little pained. Qin Wentian sweated. As expected, he was low profile and had a good temper. However, he didn't expect that the perverted monk would appear at this moment and help him. After all, in terms of experts, his side was the weaker side. This senior brother of Wuxia should be very strong. Even Huang Wudi was a little wary. It was obvious that he wasn't an ordinary person. It was just that he didn't usually reveal his true strength. Brother Qin, Look at how loyal I am. I'm not like you, denying your relationship with a beauty every time you see one. That's not nice at all. Wuxia seemed to know that the princess of the Shooting Sun Kingdom had found Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to roll his eyes. This monk was really resourceful. Thanks. Qin Wentian smiled. He didn't reject Wuxia's help. This wasn't a fair battle but a battle. Of course, the stronger the better. Qin Wentian, this is your own battle. If you hide behind others, you won't be able to avoid it. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state blocked the middle and blocked the way for Qin Wentian and Qing to meet. Your words are so boring. If this is his battle, didn't your 9 Emperors' immortal states Huangjiudi lose? After being humiliated, you surrounded him. Do you want Qin Wentian to face all of you alone? Wuxia was a little depressed. It is really boring. Sacred Academy can't kill people. You hit my people and I hit them back. Boring. Buchan shook his head and sighed. If you want to fight, then hurry up. Buchan, why are you in such a hurry? Are you afraid of seeing me? A calm voice spread over, causing a commotion in the crowd behind. Then they saw a group of experts walking through the air. Just one look at the person in the middle, and one could tell that he wasn't ordinary. Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto him, naturally guessing the identity of this person. The royal elder brother that Huang Yudi kept mentioning should be none other than him. The person who came was the 9 Emperors' immortal states Huang Shatian. He similarly saw Qin Wentian and spoke with some surprise in his voice. I didn't expect that there would be another person who managed to complete the 81 steps. It's only normal that he was defeated by you. However, you shouldn't have humiliated him. Chapter 1173. On the surface, Huang Shatian didn't seem as tyrannical as his name suggested, wanting to kill the heavens. Instead, he seemed extremely calm. However, Qin Wentian's sharp senses could sense that Huang Shaishan's calmness contained a hint of disdain. Qin Wentian naturally guessed the identity of this person. In addition to the words of the people in the surroundings, he also knew that this Huang Shatian had also taken the 81 steps on the Shizhong wall back then. Even someone as prideful as Huang Yudi would be filled with respect when he mentioned his brother. From this, one could very well imagine how much Huang Yudi admired this Huang Shatian. Also, Qin Wentian had seen Huang Shaishan's silhouette before. On the Supreme Might Immortal rankings of the Sky Connecting Realm, his silhouette was one of the few who stood at the very peak. Being able to stand at the very top of the entire Supreme Might Immortal rankings, this indicated that even in the entire Sacred Academy, there were only a few who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. For a character like Huang Wudi, he could only stand behind him willingly. He wanted to humiliate me. I merely wanted him to admit his mistake. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. This battle was something Huang Yudi chose himself. Huang Yudi ignored everything, wanting him to say such humiliating words. If this place wasn't the Sacred Academy, Qin Wentian would definitely cripple Huang Yudi. Your cultivation base is too low. I initially didn't want to act against you and wanted to leave you to Yudi. But today, there are actually so many people standing by your side. In that case, I truly want to see who dares to stand before me. Huang Shatian calmly stared at everyone, causing the spectators to be able to faintly sense the arrogance hidden within his calmness. Huang Shatian was one of the strongest characters in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. If one wanted to become enemies with him, one would have to consider carefully. Who would be willing to antagonize such a character? Senior brother, you can't bully others like this. Can you defeat him? Monk Wuxia hid behind Buchan as he asked. I can't. Buchan shook his head and said calmly. Although he was powerful, he was definitely not a match for Huang Shatian. The gap between them was not small. Senior brother Buyu. Wuxia turned around and looked at Buyu, who had been silent all this while. Buyu still didn't say a word. He placed his palms together and looked really solemn. Wuxia had a bitter expression and asked, Senior brother, can Senior brother Buyu beat him? Buchan pondered for a moment, as if thinking, then said, I'm afraid I can't beat him. Even if I can, Senior brother Buyu won't. Wuxia looked towards Qin Wentian with a pitiful gaze. Brother Qin, it isn't that I am not loyal, But even my senior brother can't beat him, much less me. You can only rely on yourself. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. This cunning monk. If he could beat him, then he would help. If he couldn't, then he would run away? Brother Qin, you have to be smarter in the future. The current Wuxia isn't as righteous as me. If you beat him, there will be an emperor brother. If you beat him, there will be an emperor uncle. As for grandfather, if you can't take it, then just bear with it. Wuxia continued. Everyone had an interested expression on their faces. Was he mocking the 9 emperors' immortal state? Are you mocking me? Huang Shatian turned his gaze onto Wuxia. Wuxia instantly hid behind Buyu as he spoke. How would I dare to do so? Don't scare this little monk. If you beat me up, my senior brother would definitely help. There are still other great monks in the Askheart Temple, but they aren't as reasonable as this little monk. The monks of Wenshin Temple are reasonable? Many people who understood Wenshin Temple laughed. That bunch of crazy monks. Wuxia's words weren't false. If someone bullied a monk from Wenshin Temple, those crazy monks wouldn't just let the matter rest. They wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Out of all the major powers in the central regions that couldn't be offended, Wenshin Temple was definitely ranked in the top 3. Huang Shatian glanced at Wuxia before turning his gaze to the left and right of Qin Wentian. Is there anyone else? His words seemed to have included the 3 monks from Wenshin Temple. Such an attitude wasn't just an ordinary arrogance. So what if everyone stood on Qin Wentian's side? If he wanted to deal with Qin Wentian, no one would be able to obstruct him. The experts from the Battle Saint tribe stood beside Qin Wentian. Chida's aura was incomparably ferocious as he stared at Huang Shatian. They could clearly see Saint Lord Qin Wentian's talent. Although they didn't know how talented the previous Saint Lord Ancient Emperor Yi was, according to the rumors of their tribe, the talent of this generation's Saint Lord might even be above the previous Saint Lord. Their mission was to ensure that Qin Wentian could grow smoothly. No matter who their opponent was, they would undoubtedly stand before Qin Wentian. Since the disciples of the Heavenly Talisman realm stepped out, they naturally wouldn't retreat. Everyone stood in formation, no one retreated. This battle was unavoidable. Very good. Do you think there's anyone who can obstruct me if I want to move against them? Huang Shaishan's voice was as calm as ever, disregarding everything in his eyes. In this Tiandao Sacred Academy, there weren't many who could enter his eyes. At the very least, there wasn't a single person beside Qin Wentian. Even if I can't obstruct you, at the very least, what you do to me, my friends will do to the people of the 9 emperors' immortal state. Qin Wentian spoke. He could sense how powerful Huang Shatian was just by looking at the attitude of the crowd. The current him basically wasn't a match for Huang Shatian. However, this didn't mean that he would retreat, especially when this concerned Qin. Very few people dare to threaten me. Today, I truly want to see. Huang Shatian spoke with incomparable arrogance. The auras of the experts around him gushed forth, and in an instant, the experts from the 2 powers all unleashed their auras at the same time. For a period of time, this entire space was filled with an oppressive pressure. The chaotic air currents caused no one in front of the Shizhong wall to dare to remain. The spectators all hurriedly retreated far away. In the end, a great battle was unavoidable. Boom. Huang Shatian released his immortal foundation. His perfect and flawless immortal foundation was incomparably dazzling. In addition, his cultivation base has already reached the peak of immortal foundation. In addition to his saint-grade immortal foundation, it was even more flawless. 9-colored immortal light revolved around his immortal foundation. Everywhere the light passed by, everyone could feel a stifling pressure. If I want to touch you, there's no one here who can obstruct me. Huang Shatian stared at Qin Wentian. With a boom he stepped out, rushing into the crowd. The experts around Qin Wentian all unleashed their powerful immortal might as their immortal foundations erupted forth. However, the human emperor immortal foundation radiated a boundlessly resplendent spatial light. For a period of time, everyone felt as though they were trapped in a spatial barrier. The incomparably resplendent human emperor sword light slashed out. It was far stronger compared to Huang Yudi back then. Boom, boom, boom. Numerous experts were flung through the air. There were originally very few people who could stand at the peak of Immortal Foundation. It was tough for Huang Shatian to find an opponent at the same level as him. For those with a cultivation base lower than him, how could they even withstand a single strike from him? Those experts who were usually extremely powerful were all flung through the air with a single strike. This was also because Huang Shatian held back. If not, nobody knew what the consequences would be. Even someone as powerful as Huang Shatian still had respect in his heart for the rules of the Sacred Academy. The stronger one was, the more they would be able to comprehend the mysteries of the Sacred Academy, and the more they would understand the respect and reverence for the Sacred Academy. Huang Shatian was tyrannical, he didn't respect the weak. But for the rules of the Sacred Academy, he didn't dare to break them, nor would he break them. Qin Wentian stared at how powerful Huang Shatian was. He only hated himself for being too slow in his cultivation, or he wouldn't have fallen into such a situation. Rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. Many experts were swept away. That incomparably resplendent Immortal Foundation light contained the power of swords, spatial as well as many other powerful attacks. There was no way to evade. Huang Shatian directly opened up a path, moving towards Qin Wentian. It was like with him alone, no one in the world could stand against him. If he wanted to target someone, no one would be able to obstruct him. The people behind Huang Shatian also witnessed how terrifying he was. They followed Huang Shatian, sweeping through everything before them, only to see Huang Shatian taking another step forward, moving towards Qin Wentian. Before Qin Wentian, Chida's back could be seen the shadow of an incomparably gigantic divine ape. Chida's body became incomparably violent, growing larger and larger, brimming with boundless strength. A fearsome killing immortal light gushed over. Chida roared in rage, and lifted his palms to attack. A resplendent battle light screen appeared, flowing with runes. One could faintly see the primordial divine ape, exuding a domineering might. Huang Shatian pointed his finger forward as he coldly snorted, "Destroy!" As the sound of his voice faded, a boundless golden light akin to the sun blasted into the battle runes unceasingly. Beams of light shot up into the sky. The divine ape howled, unable to withstand it any longer, and exploded. Chida roared, punching out with both his fists, penetrating through the void. Huang Shatian took another step forward as he pointed his finger forward again. The Ren Huang sword split the heavens and the earth, unleashing a peerlessly sharp light that forcibly split apart his opponent's attack. The boundless light once again gushed out. Even though Chida was incomparably powerful, it was still difficult for him to withstand Huang Shatian's attacks. At this time, the battle had already fully erupted. Although Huang Wudi's strength was not as great as Huang Shatian's, one mustn't forget that he was also an incomparably tyrannical top-notch talent with a high plane. He swept through a large area with irresistible force. The experts from the 9 Emperors' Immortal State, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Disciples of Zidi, and many others all launched their attacks at Qin Wentian and the others. Seeing that Chida couldn't hold on any longer, another 2 experts stood beside Chida. They were none other than Tang Sheng and another 9th-level Immortal Foundation disciple from the Heavenly Talisman realm. Both of them had outstanding talent and extraordinary combat prowess. But despite how strong they were, they still had to join forces to contend against Huang Shatian. Qin Wentian wanted to step out, yet he saw several experts from the Battle Saint tribe protecting him. They transmitted their voices to him. "Saint Lord, don't be impulsive." Huang Shatian's target was Qin Wentian. It was already extremely difficult to obstruct Huang Shatian. It was simply too dangerous for Qin Wentian to go out and fight. Senior brother Buyu, junior brother's friend, is about to be beaten up. Can you bear to see your junior brother being bullied by others? Wuxia shamelessly pleaded to his senior brother for help. Buyu stared at Wuxia. A look of worry could be seen in his eyes, but he still didn't say anything. Staring at Buyu's gaze, Wuxia gritted his teeth. He cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian and cursed in a low voice. "On the account that this monk ate quite a lot of your roasted meat, this monk will go all out." After speaking, he steeled his heart and spoke to Buyu. "Senior brother Buyu, junior brother guarantees that I will no longer peek at female benefactors bathing in the future." Buyu stared at him with a gratified expression. He drew in a deep breath and spat out a word, "Okay." Chapter 1174. After Buyu spoke, he turned his gaze to the battlefield. The prayer beads on his neck moved despite the absence of wind, and Buddhist light radiated from his body. This Buddhist light was resplendent, enveloping the entire area in an instant, as though ancient Arhat Buddhas had appeared. On the battlefield, Huang Shatian fought against 3 powerful cultivators. He was insufferably arrogant, and each of his attacks was able to shake the 3 cultivators. Even if the 3 of them were powerful enough, when one's strength reached another level, the difference in numbers would be hard to make up for. As one of the strongest cultivators in the Sacred Academy, one could imagine how powerful Huang Shatian was. Buyu instantly understood that if he couldn't pin down Huang Shatian, the entire battlefield would be one-sided. Pressing his palms together, his countenance was solemn and dignified as Buddhic light radiated from him. The spectators from afar were all enveloped by the Buddhic light. Within this supreme Buddhic light, there were countless complicated runic patterns. Buyu stepped out as his silhouette vanished from his original location. In the next instant, a terrifying giant footprint of the Buddhic path appeared above Huang Shatian's head. This giant footprint contained a towering amount of Buddhic energy, capable of trampling through space and annihilating everything. Moreover, this attack appeared out of nowhere, arriving in an instant. Huang Shatian reacted extremely quickly. With a cold shout, his body was enveloped by boundless spatial light. Buyu's Buddhist foot stomped down, directly stepping on the void, not even coming into contact with Huang Shatian's body. But at this moment, the giant foot suddenly unleashed the might of nirvanic extermination. The Buddhist light within it crushed the surrounding void. Even if it was hidden in the void, it would still be destroyed. The violent energy slammed into the light radiating from Huang Shatian, causing Huang Shatian to be forced back. This was the first time Huang Shatian was forced back. The crowd inclined their heads and stared at Buyu. What a powerful monk! Huang Shatian also stared at Buyu. His demeanor was as graceful as ever as he calmly spoke. Every generation of the Wenshin Temple, there can only be 3 great monks at the Immortal Foundation realm. The other monks will assist these 3. The 3 of them in this generation are Buyu and have low talent. However, they are the strongest and have the best patience. They would usually spend many years to cultivate their Buddhist innate techniques to the pinnacle. Hence their cultivation bases are the most stable. Buyu low talent? Everyone perspired when they heard Huang Shatian's words. Low talent? Buyu actually spent many years to cultivate his strength to the pinnacle. Was this the meaning of hard work can make up for one? Buyu remained silent as he pressed his palms together. Buchan's talent is very high, but his temper is the most explosive. Bujia's cultivation base is the lowest, but his talent is the highest out of the 3. It's said that he is proficient in all arts of the Buddhist path. Hence, Buyu and Buchan doted on this junior apprentice brother of theirs. This also resulted in Bujia's shameless and lustful personality. Huang Shatian faintly spoke. Everyone turned their gazes onto that magnificent silhouette. Although Huang Shatian was powerful and arrogant, he was truly an extraordinary character. He understood the 3 great monks of the Wenshin Temple very well. This monk is so pure and innocent, yet I was slandered as shameless. Benefactor Shatian, you will definitely descend to the 18th level of hell for distorting the truth. Bujia pressed his palms together as he cursed with a straight face. Today, since the 3 great monks of the Wenshin Temple are all here, I truly want to experience for myself the might of Buyu's so-called Buddha path innate techniques that have been cultivated to the pinnacle. As the sound of Huang Shatian's voice faded, the emperor light from his immortal foundation slashed apart space, shooting towards Buyu. Buyu chanted a Buddhist chant, exuding a solemn and dignified air. The prayer beads around his neck were like relics, shining with a resplendent light. Behind Buyu, an incomparably gigantic ancient Buddha appeared. 108 golden arhats revolved around him, transforming into a supreme protective innate technique. The terrifying emperor light shot over, enveloping this entire space, frenziedly lacerating everything in its path. Such fearsome might was sufficient to shatter this entire space. This fearsome destructive might shot towards the golden arhats, unceasingly destroying them. However, to everyone's shock, they discovered that these 108 golden arhats seemed to be a single entity. As long as they weren't instantly destroyed, they would be able to regain their radiance. This could be said to be truly indestructible. What a shocking defense. The hearts of everyone trembled. Before this, they had never heard of Buyu's name before. This monk was truly very low profile, but in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, low-profile people didn't necessarily mean that they were weak. I want to see how long you can last. Huang Shatian coldly spoke. His perfect immortal foundation circulated frenziedly as destructive energy gushed forth. In order to maintain such a fearsome defense, the consumption rate would definitely be extremely high. Benefactors, why are you all just standing at the side and watching? Buyu spoke again. Only now did Chida and the others came to their senses. Although Buyu was powerful, when compared to the unrivaled Huang Shatian, it would be hard for him to stand against him. They needed to join forces to deal with Huang Shatian. Just attack him boldly. My senior brother will help you restrain him. Bujia spoke in a loud voice. Chida and the other 2 disciples from the heavenly talisman realm stepped out. The 4 of them moved in 4 different directions. Chida roared, unleashing his battle saint art. A tyrannical palm imprint blotted out the sky as it blasted out. Tang Sheng slashed out a beam of sword light that was as fast as the wind, directly aiming for Buyu's throat. Another disciple attacked at the same time. The 4 of them were ganging up on Buyu. Huang Shatian wasn't afraid at all. Boundless spatial light enveloped him, and those tyrannical attacks were all drawn into a separate dimension by him. Both his palms blasted out, manifesting numerous human emperor silhouettes wielding spatial killing swords, wanting to control the lives of everyone in the world as they slashed out in 2 different directions. At the same time, Huang Shatian stepped out as well. His figure flickered as he moved towards Tang Sheng. Tang Sheng waved his sword and weaved a spatial light screen. Huang Shatian stabbed out with a finger, and in an instant, the power of the human emperor slashed out together with the spatial storm. No one could block it. But almost at the same time, Buyu arrived, descending from the sky. Another gigantic foot stomped down. Huang Shatian didn't have time to kill Tang Sheng and had no choice but to defend. Tang Sheng took the chance to increase the distance between them, and Huang Shatian was forced back once more. The 4 experts continued their attacks, surrounding Huang Shatian. Just like what Bujia said, Buyu's defense was unparalleled, and his attacks were incomparably tyrannical. It was indeed suitable to restrict Huang Shatian, preventing him from concentrating his strength to deal with any one of them. Senior brother is wise indeed. Bujia praised from the bottom of his heart. Shameless. An expert from the 9 emperors' immortal state cursed. This monk Buyu's combat method was simply shameless. Those 100 arhats and Buddhas were like turtle shells. You should go as well. Qin Wentian spoke to an expert from the Battle Saint tribe, who was protecting him. This person was also at the 9th level of Immortal Foundation, and was extremely powerful. He was protecting Qin Wentian because Huang Shaishan's threat was too great. Saint Lord. That person spoke in a low voice. Go on, he is proficient in spatial energy. Don't give him a chance to kill his way out. Qin Wentian spoke. That expert nodded. After that, his silhouette flashed as he joined Huang Shaishan's battle circle. This time around, it was a joint attack by 5 experts. Even someone as strong as Huang Shatian was trapped. The attacks from both sides shook the heavens and earth, each of them opening up a battlefield, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble when they saw this. Qing, and Zidi's disciples wanted to break out of the encirclement, but they were surrounded by Zidi's followers and several other experts. They had no way to kill their way to the other side. The other experts were all fighting. At this moment, there was no one beside Qin Wentian. He didn't need anyone. Huang Shatian was trapped by the 5 experts. Huang Wudi unceasingly rushed over. His cultivation base was extremely high, and he managed to injure several experts. However, Buchan also acted. How powerful was he? Other than Huang Shatian and Huang Wudi, who else in the 9 emperors' immortal state could be his opponent? All of them were injured by his attacks. He then spoke. Such a battle is truly boring. Huang Wudi arrived before him. His expression was ice cold. Is the Wenqin Temple determined to get involved in this? Your 9 emperors' immortal states Huang Yudi has already been defeated. Right now, there are so many experts wanting to deal with a 5th-level immortal foundation character. How despicable. Buchan spoke. Since when did the monks of the Wenqin Temple have so many rules? The strong are strong, the weak should have their own self-awareness. Isn't your Wenqin Temple only allowed to bully others and not be bullied by others? Huang Wudi spoke. In addition, do you think that with just you and Buyu, you would be able to change the situation? As Huang Wudi spoke, there were already experts rushing over, arriving before Qin Wentian. There were 3 of them, all of them had extremely high cultivation bases. The experts from the Battle Saint tribe wanted to rush back to help, but they were all being suppressed. They had no way to aid Qin Wentian. There's no need to care about me, Qin Wentian roared when he saw the experts rushing over. Qing'er, I will head to the Tongtian Heaven Stone in the Sky Connecting Realm. There's no need for you all to continue fighting. Qin Wentian transmitted his voiceover. The target of the 9 emperors' immortal state was him. In fact, he felt that it wasn't like what Huang Yudi had said, that Huang Shatian was interested in Qing'er. Huang Shatian basically didn't pay attention to Qing'er when he came here. In the hearts of such people, cultivation was everything. They wouldn't care about emotions. He transformed into a great rock and with a flash of his silhouette, he sped away with lightning speed. Everyone, I can't thank you enough for fighting for me, Qin Wentian. Their target is me, there's no need for them to fight bitterly. Qin Wentian's voice boomed out, transforming into a beam of lightning that tore through the air. And as expected, when they saw Qin Wentian leaving, many experts coldly snorted and left the battlefield, chasing after Qin Wentian. If Qin Wentian stayed here, the pressure on those who were helping him would be even greater. The moment he left, many experts would chase after him. Everyone knew that the target of the 9 emperors' immortal state was Qin Wentian. This time around Huang Shatian, Huang Wudi, and many other experts came here at the same time. If Qin Wentian still managed to escape, it would be an extremely embarrassing matter. In an instant, the entire battlefield was in chaos. Many experts soared into the air at the same time and chased after Qin Wentian. Many experts who were watching also stepped out, wanting to watch the show. It was rare for such a large-scale chaotic battle to happen in the Sacred Academy. They wanted to see how the ending would be. Only one big battlefield was still not in chaos. In Huang Shaishan's battlefield, 5 experts were besieging him with all their might. This battle could be said to be earth-shattering. Looking at Huang Shaishan's unparalleled grace, everyone couldn't help but sigh. Perhaps he might be the future great emperor of the ancients. Chapter 1175. Qin Wentian's speed was extremely fast. It was as though he had transformed into a great rock. His entire body was made of pure gold, resembling a true pure-blooded golden-winged great rock. In addition to the power of his god's hand, his entire body surged with unfathomable might. In the air, only shadows of golden-winged rocks could be seen. How fast! Behind him, a very long battle line was formed. Many experts were chasing after him, and there were also many spectators. Naturally, there were even more experts who stayed at the battlefield in front of the Shizhong Wall, because Huang Shatian and Huang Wudi were there. Evidently, the battles would be even more fascinating. Xin Yuehua and the others chose to chase in the direction of Qin Wentian. She wanted to see if this mysterious young man could escape this calamity. If he was captured by the experts of the 9 emperors' immortal state, Xin Yuehua could already imagine how miserable Qin Wentian's fate would be. Although the rules of the Sacred Academy didn't allow killing or crippling, they could at least torture a person. Qin Wentian domineeringly humiliated Huang Yudi. The 9 emperors' immortal state naturally wouldn't be polite to him. Seems like we have underestimated him. After transforming into a great rock, he seems to have comprehended the true sky rock art. It's impossible for ordinary geniuses to catch up to him. A fairy beside Xin Yuehua spoke. Qin Wentian was simply too fast. He didn't seem to have a human body, but a true golden-winged great rock instead. The one chasing after him was a terrifying 8th-level Immortal Foundation genius. He was also an expert of the 9 Emperors' immortal state. In this generation of the 9 Emperors' immortal state, Huang Shatian, Huang Yudi and Huang Wudi all had outstanding talent. This person was named Huang Dangtian, and was also an extremely rare genius with terrifying combat prowess. It was just that because this golden generation had Huang Shatian, Huang Yudi and the others, their radiance was overshadowed. Huang Dangtian was definitely an extremely powerful character. He stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. To his left and right, there was an 8th-level Immortal Foundation ZD's followers, as well as a 7th-level Immortal Foundation expert from the Supreme Sword School. The speed of these 3 was the fastest and they chased after Qin Wentian relentlessly. Behind them, there was still a group of experts chasing after Qin Wentian, wanting to capture Qin Wentian no matter what. Under such speed, a group of people soared through the air. Not long after, Qin Wentian arrived at the entrance of the sky-connecting realm. He directly transformed into a bolt of lightning and shot into the sky-connecting realm. The experts behind him also didn't hesitate to enter, continuing to chase after Qin Wentian. Even if Qin Wentian entered the sky-connecting realm, they would choose not to kill Qin Wentian. But even so, they would still make him miserable. You won't be able to escape. Not only did Qin Wentian not widen the distance between him and Huang Dangtian, he was getting closer and closer instead. Huang Dangtian's aura was already able to envelop Qin Wentian's body. However, he was simply too fast. The moment he was enveloped by his aura, he would instantly retreat. Huang Dangtian and the others could only continue to shorten the distance between them. And at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. This figure abruptly flashed and transformed into an incomparably gigantic white tiger. The white tiger that was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation exuded a terrifying aura. With a howl of rage, it lunged towards Qin Wentian, wanting to obstruct Qin Wentian's advance. Qin Wentian unfurled his wings. Runic light circulated around him, slashing apart everything. He directly penetrated through the baleful aura of destruction and headed straight for the body of the white tiger. The white tiger greater demon roared in rage once more as an incomparably gigantic white tiger phantom appeared in the sky. However, Qin Wentian's movements didn't slow down at all. The supreme light radiating from his body grew even more resplendent as an incomparably resplendent beam of light arced through the air. The white tiger greater demon was directly cleaved into 2 from the middle. The speed of the golden-winged great rock didn't slow down in the slightest as it continued on its path. Such might cause the hearts of those pursuing Qin Wentian to tremble slightly. They couldn't help but to admit Qin Wentian's talent. Even though he was his opponent, if Qin Wentian's cultivation base was at the peak of Immortal Foundation, he would surely be an unparalleled character like Huang Shatian, becoming one of the strongest characters in the entire Sacred Academy. Sadly, there was no hope for Qin Wentian. Huang Dangtian and the others chased closer and closer. Qin Wentian directly sped towards the wilderness of the sky-connecting realm. The eyes of the golden-winged rock were incomparably lofty as he inclined his head and stared at the sky-connecting realm. The entire Tiandao Sacred Academy was enveloped by a strange law. There seemed to be a pair of eyes watching everything, setting the rules. Most probably, there were people watching their every action. In addition, Qin Wentian knew that the rules could be slightly modified. Back then, after the Dao lecture in the Sacred Academy, a huge conflict arose between him and the White Tiger race. He requested the Sacred Academy to set up a life and death battle platform, and the Sacred Academy agreed, allowing a life and death battle platform to be set up on the stairway leading to the ancient mountain peak. Right now, it was unknown if such a situation would occur again in the sky-connecting realm. You can't escape. Behind him, a terrifying voice descended. It was the voice of Huang Dangtian. He was the closest in pursuit. Most likely, it would not be long before he would be able to intercept and kill Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was still running madly. It seemed that he was giving it his all just to escape a little further. Everything looked so much like he was fleeing for his life. Moreover, he seemed to be a little panicked and did not choose his path. The direction of his escape was getting more and more remote, deep into the ancient mountains and barren mountains of the sky-connecting realm. Any demonic beasts that passed by would be directly slain. His momentum was unstoppable. Behind him, there were already quite a number of cultivators who had been shaken off. However, the people who were still following closely behind Qin Wentian were the most powerful group of people. Kill. Behind him, Huang Dongtian's mighty Renhuang might swept out and charged towards Qin Wentian in front of him. Qin Wentian's wings shimmered with runic light as he directly slashed out a tyrannical attack behind him. Borrowing the rebound force from the impact, his speed explosively increased once more. He was still fleeing, wanting to escape to a place where the crowd couldn't reach. Finally, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the Sacred Academy as he spoke. I know that this Sacred Academy has its own rules. Junior Qin Wentian is a ranker on the Supreme Might rankings. Now that I'm being pursued by others, can I request the Sacred Academy to open up an independent battlefield and engage in a life-and-death battle? This voice contained a cold killing intent, as though it contained the coldness in Qin Wentian's heart. Even Huang Dangtian, who was chasing after him, felt his heart trembling. Had this fellow gone mad? He wanted to open up an independent battlefield and engage in a life-and-death battle? Qin Wentian, how would he dare to do so? In the air, there seemed to be no reply. But at this moment, law energy flowed in the air above the sky-connecting realm, following after Qin Wentian. A voice rang out. No matter how high your cultivation base is, you are pursuing a 5th-level Immortal Foundation cultivator. You are allowed to request a life-and-death battle. But since you want such a battlefield, either you kill all your opponents or you die. What kind of battlefield do you want? Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He only felt that the Sacred Academy was mysterious and could bear witness to everything. Hence, he wanted to give it a try, but he didn't expect that there would actually be a reply. It was just that the reply was extremely cruel. If he chose to open up an independent battlefield, he would either kill all his opponents or die in battle. This was the price he had to pay for his request to open up an independent battlefield in the sky-connecting realm. Fine, I accept the challenge. I request for an independent battlefield that is isolated from the outside world. After I win, I need to be able to leave from another location and not be disturbed by others. Qin Wentian stated his request. Request accepted. An ethereal voice rang out in the air. After that, a terrifying law energy descended from the sky. Before him, a gate instantly appeared, shining with the light of law energy. Qin Wentian directly stepped out and entered. In the next instant, Huang Dangshan walked to the gate. A voice rang out in his mind, informing Huang Dangshan of the rules. Although the Sacred Academy allowed Qin Wentian's request to open up an independent battlefield, others still had the right to choose. They could choose not to accept it. Has he gone mad? Huang Dangshan roared when he sensed the rules. This Qin Wentian was courting death? At this moment, Huang Dangshan actually felt a hint of hesitation in his heart. The Sacred Academy naturally had its own rules. Even if they captured Qin Wentian, it was impossible for them to kill Qin Wentian. But right now, Qin Wentian seemed to be courting death. Would a genius like Qin Wentian be so foolish and ignorant? Or could it be that he still had a trump card? The whistling sound of sharp swords and violent wind could be heard. Zidi's followers and the experts from the Supreme Sword School arrived. They instantly sensed the rules and stood together with Huang Dangshan, staring at the gate ahead. What are you hesitating for? The experts from the Supreme Sword School asked. Huang Dangshan furrowed his brows. As a prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state, his cultivation base was at the 8th level while Qin Wentian was at the 5th level. Even if his talent was monstrous, so what? What was he hesitating for? Releasing his immortal foundation, Emperor Might gushed forth as Huang Dangtian stepped out, stepping into the gate. Zidi's followers and the disciples from the Supreme Sword School respectively stepped out, entering the independent battlefield created by the rules of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Within the independent battlefield, there was an independent space. Huang Dangshan and the other 2 stepped out only to see Qin Wentian floating in the air with his eyes closed. Are you courting death? Huang Dangshan stared at Qin Wentian as he coldly spoke. Since he is courting death, let's send him on his way then. The expert from the Paragon Sword sect coldly snorted. A moment later, Sword Chi hummed as he shot out. At the same time, his body also sped towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian released his perfect saint-grade immortal foundation. Abruptly, his entire body shone with an incomparably terrifying blood-colored light. At this instant, numerous blood-colored runes circulated around his body as the blood-colored light shot towards Qin Wentian's immortal foundation. The saint-grade immortal foundation was actually imbued with the glow of his bloodline. At this instant, that perfect saint-grade immortal foundation seemed to have completed a sublimation. His entire immortal foundation seemed to be filled with an inexhaustible amount of law energy. His body was like a body of law energy. The sharp sword slashed over, yet it had no way to move Qin Wentian. Huang Dangshan and the other two stared at Qin Wentian, who was radiating a towering bloodline energy. They actually felt an aura that struck fear into their hearts. It was extremely dangerous. The Qin Wentian right now caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. And at this moment, the expert from the Supreme Sword School was already rushing over on his sword. Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly opened as a terrifying blood-colored light engulfed everything, causing everyone to sink into the depths of his eyes. Within those blood-colored eyes, one could faintly see a supreme greater demon. Kill! That expert from the Supreme Sword School roared in rage. 10,000 swords shot out in unison, but at this moment, a terrifying demonic divinity shadow appeared. It directly lifted a blood-colored palm imprint and directly destroyed all the swords. After that, a gigantic palm stretched out, causing the expert from the Supreme Sword School to tremble uncontrollably as he retreated on his sword. The blood-colored demonic divinity palm imprint swept out, causing the space around it to freeze. The gigantic palm imprint grabbed the expert from the Supreme Sword School. No, that expert from the Supreme Sword School howled in rage. He could faintly sense an intense threat of death. Pooh! A light sound rang out as the palm imprint pressed down, causing blood to splatter out. The expert from the Supreme Sword School was actually crushed to death. Chapter 1176. A 7th-level Immortal Foundation expert from the Supreme Sword School died. Although Qin Wentian could already kill 7th-level Immortal Foundation geniuses before this, it was impossible for him to do so in such a tyrannical manner. In addition, there was no need to doubt the strength of that expert from the Supreme Sword School, since he was able to become one of the 3 pursuers who pursued him the most closely. Yet, he was still crushed to death by that blood-colored greater demon hand. This scene caused the hearts of Huang Dangtian and that expert from the Violet Emperor sect to violently tremble. Staring at the increasingly demonic body of Qin Wentian, they could only feel the terror of death in their hearts. At this moment, a terrifying shadow of a demon god appeared behind Qin Wentian, flowing with a fearsome blood-colored light. It was like Qin Wentian's original form was the shadow of the demon god. Qin Wentian's entire person seemed to have transformed into a demon. Are you a human or a demon? Huang Dangshan coldly stared at Qin Wentian as he asked. He didn't expect Qin Wentian to become so terrifying. Why can't humans cultivate the abilities of demons? Qin Wentian coldly replied. That perfect saint-grade immortal foundation of his was completely covered in blood-colored law energy, dyeing his entire immortal foundation red. Qin Wentian roared as numerous fearsome ZD phantoms appeared. Their roars tore apart the void as a violent energy gushed forth, aiming for Huang Dangshan and ZD's followers. Huang Dangshan released his emperor might to the extreme as the might of a human emperor gushed forth. ZD's followers blasted out a towering violet fist light, shaking the heavens and earth. However, under the roar of the ZD phantoms, their attacks were all shattered. Qin Wentian directly unleashed another attack. Above his immortal foundation, numerous demonic dragons could be seen churning about, slaughtering their way through. Huang Dangshan gathered all his strength to defend against them, yet he only saw the demonic dragons shimmering with blood-colored light, wanting to destroy everything. Terrifying rumbling sounds echoed through the air. Huang Dangshan turned pale when he felt the terrifying law energy. This amount of energy was sufficient to destroy him. Huang Dangshan slashed out with a human emperor sword as he retreated. ZD's followers also wanted to retreat, Yet they only saw numerous divine elephants rushing over, exuding a towering destructive might. The divine elephants crushed his body, causing him to cough out blood as his steps faltered. With a thunderous boom, Zidi's followers coughed out blood as they fell from the air. After that, a great rock slashed over, directly killing him. Another expert has fallen. Huang Dangshan felt fear in his heart. He wanted to leave, yet he discovered that this battlefield was created independently. From the moment he stepped here, it was destined that there was no path of retreat. Either he would die, or Qin Wentian would die. When he thought of this, he could only turn and stare at Qin Wentian. At this moment, when he saw Qin Wentian, he felt his heart trembling. Qin Wentian was a gigantic demon god, exuding an indestructible demonic law energy, giving people a misconception that he was unshakable. Huang Dangshan even lost his will to continue fighting. In the next instant, countless golden-winged rocks descended from the sky, wanting to destroy everything. Huang Dangshan roared in rage. His terrifying emperor might was unable to block the demonic might. The blood-colored golden-winged rocks seemed to be endless in number. All of them were annihilated. Screams of agony rang out until Huang Dangshan's body completely vanished from this world, transforming into nothingness. This was a battlefield created by the laws of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Even if one died, no immortal sense would appear. The three experts who chased after Qin Wentian all died. Even if they died, the people in the outside world wouldn't know how they died. In fact, they didn't even know that they had already died. Outside the life and death battlefield, there were several other experts chasing after them. When they appeared outside the battlefield, they naturally heard the announcement of the rules, which directly appeared in their minds. The battlefield in front of them was the life and death battlefield. These people exchanged mutual glances, feeling some hesitation. They didn't expect that such a battlefield would actually be created in the sky-connecting realm. In that case, those experts who chased after Qin Wentian earlier should have already killed Qin Wentian, right? After waiting for a moment, the gate was still there. There was no movement. One of them spoke. "Let's go in and take a look." Let's go. Several of them stepped through the gate at the same time. After that, they saw an incomparably gigantic demonic divinity standing there. That demonic divinity was none other than Qin Wentian's face. Their hearts pounded rapidly as their countenances paled. When they felt that overwhelming demonic might, their bodies involuntarily trembled. Such an aura was sufficient to destroy them. Boom! The demonic might descended from the sky. A greater demon descended, wanting to destroy everything. At this moment, they turned and fled, wanting to leave this battlefield. But before they stepped into the battlefield, the laws had already been transmitted into their minds. How could they escape? These experts who entered all died here. In the outside world, this space turned extremely silent. Earlier, Qin Wentian's speed of escape was extremely fast, and he had shaken off many people. The number of people who chased after him wasn't too many. The gate was still shining with a demonic light, resembling the eyes of a devil. Bzz. A beam of sword chi gushed forth from afar. Another expert from the Supreme Sword School arrived. Upon sensing the voice of the Sacred Academy, he coldly snorted and didn't hesitate to step into the battlefield. After that, he didn't come out again. After that, more and more figures appeared, entering the devil-like gate. They could only enter, they couldn't exit. After a period of time, in the battlefield, Qin Wentian felt the energy in his body drying up. He couldn't control the power of his bloodline at all. In fact, he couldn't even maintain absolute clarity of mind. A sense of exhaustion washed over him. His demonic eyes flashed with a trace of calmness. He glanced at the battlefield as he spoke. "Is this enough?" "Yes." A voice rang out. After that, an exit opened up at the other end of the battlefield. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he rushed out, directly entering the depths of the mountain range. For a period of time, everywhere he passed by, his aura was extremely shocking, causing tens of thousands of demons to retreat. That battlefield also vanished, returning to the original dimension of the sky-connecting realm. There was no one there, not even corpses. Of course, the voice of the rules had also disappeared. Everything here seemed to have been directly erased. No one knew that an independent battlefield had been opened in this space, and no one knew that many geniuses who had stepped into Tiandao Sacred Academy had died in this battlefield. After some more time passed, an expert from the Human Emperor Immortal Empire rushed over. He seemed to have sensed an unusual aura in the air. His silhouette flashed as he descended, only to see a few drops of blood on the ground. It was unknown where they came from. His silhouette flickered as he continued to descend. Then the fairies of the Yaotai Pavilion also walked over. They seemed to have sensed something here. They stopped for a moment and continued forward. After that, people from Qin Wentian's side also arrived here. Whether it was Qin Wentian or those experts who were chasing them, they couldn't be found. No one knew where they stepped into the sky-connecting world. After some more time passed, Huang Wudi also arrived here. He continued to chase after them but to no avail. In another battlefield, Huang Shatian was surrounded by 5 powerful experts. He fought furiously against the heavens, and managed to kill his way out of the encirclement. However, he ultimately still wasn't able to defeat the combined forces of the 5 experts. He could only threaten them before he left. Qing'er also left. She followed her senior sisters and headed towards the Tongtian Heavenstone, waiting for Qin Wentian. This chaotic battle that shocked the entire Sacred Academy gradually came to an end just like that. However, there wasn't a clear ending because no one was able to find Qin Wentian. It was as though he had gone missing. Until 7 days later, Qin Wentian and many of his pursuers still hadn't appeared. This caused quite a commotion in the Sacred Academy. After all, back then, Qin Wentian took the 81 steps in front of the Shizhong Wall. After that, Huang Shatian descended and the battle attracted the attention of the Sacred Academy. Many people were paying close attention to Qin Wentian's ending. However, Qin Wentian disappeared for 7 days. Not only him, but many people who had chased him also disappeared, including a very powerful prince of the 9 emperors' immortal state, Huang Dangtian. There was no trace of them anywhere in the sky-connecting world. There were many rumors in the Sacred Academy. Some people said that Qin Wentian risked everything and got out of the sky-connecting world again. He even violated the rules of the Sacred Academy and perished together with those who chased him. However, there weren't many people who believed it. After all, with Qin Wentian's strength and realm, it was impossible for him to perish together with so many experts. There were also people who said that they walked through the endless wilderness of the sky-connecting world and barged into a mystic realm. They were trapped or entered the territory of some super-powerful great demon and were trapped inside. There were many people who believed in this rumor. No matter what kind of rumor it was, as time passed, the voices of discussion would gradually lessen. Until 3 months later, suddenly one day, an expert saw Qin Wentian's figure disappear from the sky-connecting celestial stone. It immediately caused an uproar. The news of Qin Wentian's death instantly spread to many corners of the Sacred Academy. On that day, the young man who took the 81 steps on the Shizhong Wall and defeated Huang Yudi, causing a great battle. Did he die? There were rules in the Sacred Academy. It was impossible for someone to die. However, Qin Wentian had indeed disappeared from the sky-connecting celestial stone. Apart from dying, what else could it be? In the Sacred Academy, sighs could be heard. On the Tongtian Heavenstone in the sky-connecting world, the fairies of Yaotai gathered together. Many people were discussing it. Xin Yuehua's beautiful eyes looked at the figure of the sky-connecting celestial stone that had disappeared. She let out a long sigh. Such a person was actually only able to display his brilliance for such a short period of time. Did he die in the Tiandao Sacred Academy? My senior brother couldn't have died. A voice was heard. It was the voice of Jun Mingchen. He did not believe the rumors. There's nothing that's impossible. Azidi's followers said cold. That guy actually died. This was really good news. On the Tongtian Heavenstone, there was a beautiful figure sitting there with her eyes closed, waiting quietly. Qing'er. Beside the woman, many fairies tried to persuade her. However, the woman still had her eyes closed and was indifferent. Qin Wentian said that he would come here, so he would definitely come. This was the agreement between them. Qin Wentian would definitely abide by it. Chapter 1177. During the 36 years of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, there were too many incidents that happened in the 4 sacred academies. Each sacred academy had geniuses contending against each other. Some geniuses formed good friendships, and there were also geniuses who formed deep grudges. But there were even more geniuses who wanted to contend for supremacy in the sacred academy, becoming an unrivaled character, ascending to the supreme might rankings of the Sky Connecting Realm, entering the 2nd level of the Sky Connecting Realm. Because by doing so, if the future ancient emperors really came from the Tiandao Sacred Academy, they would have a chance. Among the various contentions, the battle between Qin Wentian and the 9 emperors' immortal state was only one of them, but it could also be considered one of the most majestic. After all, there were simply too many peak powers in the immortal realms involved in that battle. The 9 emperors' immortal state, Wenqin Temple, Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Supreme Sword School, Evergreen Kingdom, Jidi's followers, Zidi's followers, and so on. In addition to Huang Shaishan's Empyrean prowess, the commotion naturally wouldn't be small. In addition, even if it was Qin Wentian who was at the 5th level of Immortal Foundation, he was still a character that would be hard for people to forget. For the 81 steps of the Shizhong Wall, only Huang Shatian and Qin Wentian succeeded. The difference was that Qin Wentian's cultivation base was much lower. If they fought head-on, he naturally wouldn't be able to withstand a single strike from Huang Shatian. Hence in that battle, only 5 supreme experts joined forces to deal with Huang Shatian. Qin Wentian wasn't there. Naturally, the people of the Sacred Academy also understood that there were still many Empyreans or characters from other sacred academies who didn't head to the Shizhong Wall. If not, it wouldn't be only Qin Wentian and Huang Shatian who could reach the 81 steps. And as expected, after the commotion of that battle circulated, many experts headed to the Shizhong Wall. Another Empyrean managed to reach the 81 steps, establishing a perfect immortal foundation. After a period of time, another supreme genius headed to the Shizhong Wall, establishing a saint-grade immortal foundation. It was as though the Shizhong Wall was created precisely for these supreme geniuses. The name of the Shizhong Wall resounded throughout the 4 sacred academies. More and more experts attempted, but no matter what, there was no one who could achieve what Qin Wentian did back then, achieving the 81 steps of the Shizhong Wall. This record, no one could break it. Hence, Qin Wentian's name would occasionally be mentioned in front of the Shizhong Wall. Other than this, the place where his name was mentioned the most was the Tongtian Heaven Stone, because Qing'er was sitting there, and she had never left the place. She would sit on a huge rock not far away from the Tongtian Heaven Stone with her eyes closed, ignoring the matters of the outside world. It was as though she had let go of everything and could only wait quietly. He promised her, then he will come also must come. The infatuation of the daughter of the evergreen immortal sect, Qing'er, caused many to sigh in their hearts. The tyrannical 9 emperors' immortal state, as well as the domineering Huang Shatian, broke up a pair of lovebirds. This resulted in Qin Wentian's death, causing this supreme beauty to be so sad. Many people stood on the Tongtian Heaven Stone. Among them, there was an extremely beautiful woman who exuded a heroic aura. Her brows were tightly furrowed as she stared at the vanishing silhouette of Qin Wentian. Maybe I was wrong back then, the woman murmured. Even my royal sister would admit her mistake? The young man beside her asked. I thought that he would be humiliated by the 9 emperors' immortal state, and that would offset the incident of him helping Wuxia the lecherous monk. What happened after that was beyond my expectations time and time again. Even that lecherous monk Wuxia surprised me. For such a person to die because of the 9 emperors' immortal state, I feel that it's a pity. Even without you, he and the 9 emperors' immortal state would have met sooner or later. Some things are destined to be unavoidable. Monk Wuxia, what do you plan to do? Since things have come to this, and Reverend Buyu also asked Monk Wuxia to apologize, let's forget about it, the woman said softly. Not far away from her, several cold gazes suddenly turned over. She frowned and looked over. She immediately saw several extremely outstanding beauties who were not inferior to her staring at her coldly. The holy successor of the Namhuang clan. Her elder brother spoke in a low voice, his words causing a strange expression to appear on her face. This man's luck with women is truly not bad. So many beauties are sad because of his death. Master won't die. A beautiful woman clad in a fiery red dress coldly spoke. This woman was none other than Purgatory. He won't? She shook her head. Naturally not. Back then in the city of ancient emperors, his situation was even more dire. Zi Daoyang and Emosia couldn't take his life and were killed by him in the end. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor and Zidi's subordinates in the God Hand Mountain Manor also couldn't take his life. Now that he has cultivated God's hand, how can the people of the 9 emperors' immortal state kill him? Nam Huang Yunxi resolutely spoke. She firmly believed that Qin Wentian wouldn't die. Won't die? Humans truly know how to console themselves. A group of figures walked over. These experts all exuded a terrifying baleful aura, causing Nam Huang Yunxi and the others to have solemn expressions as they stared at this group of experts. These experts were none other than the experts of the White Tiger people. The person who spoke was none other than the White Tiger royalty expert, Bai Mao. Back then he and Huang Wudi pursued Qin Wentian, and Qin Wentian was defeated by him, allowing Bai Mao to regain his confidence. There's no mistake in the Supreme Might rankings. Since he disappeared, it means that he has died. Bai Mao coldly spoke. That's right. Nam Huang Yunxi, you must be in love with Qin Wentian, right? Don't worry, the demons of our White Tiger people are naturally strong. We will definitely make you happy. A White Tiger greater demon laughed evilly. Nam Huang Yunxi had a look of disgust on her face. A holy maiden beside her directly spoke in a cold voice. Disgusting vile beast. Disgusting? Bai Mao's evil eyes coldly laughed. The people of the Namhuang clan are looking down on you White Tiger greater demons. A provocative voice drifted over. It was a disciple of Zidi. Wait until they become pregnant with the little demons of the White Tiger people. They would no longer think this way. A White Tiger laughed. You all dare to do this? I heard that Qin Wentian once roasted White Tiger meat in front of you all. No wonder. However, not only are there Nam Huang Yunxi and the others here, there's also that widow of Qin Wentian. She is also a supreme beauty. Do you all want to take care of her? Zidi's followers spoke, their words causing the experts of the White Tiger people to stare in the direction of Qing. Many of the White Tigers had evil looks in their eyes. Despicable fellows. The princess of the Shooting Sun Kingdom coldly spoke when she saw this scene. You humans only know how to use such dirty methods. You don't dare to do it yourself, so you want us White Tiger people to do it? Bai Mao said without any trace of politeness. Although he hated Qin Wentian, he wasn't stupid. Zidi's followers intentionally humiliated and angered them with words. Their words made the White Tiger people very embarrassed. Don't dare? It's just that we aren't strong enough. Zidi's followers laughed. Princess Qing, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had already proposed marriage before the appearance of the Sacred Academy. Yet you had an affair with Qin Wentian. However, now that Qin Wentian is dead, you are free. Are you preparing to join the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom? Or are you going to seduce Huang Shatian? Although Huang Shatian didn't express any interest in you, if you take the initiative to throw yourself into his arms, you might have a chance. Did Zidi teach a group of beasts like you? Scram. Qing Er's eyes were still closed, but Jidi's followers couldn't help but say coldly. After the battle, Huang Shatian indeed didn't express any interest in Qing Er. Since Qin Wentian had already died and paid the price, there was no need for him to continue wasting time on these people. Cultivating in the Tiandao Sacred Academy was the most important thing. Wasting even a moment was shameful. Zidi's followers' expressions turned ugly. These disciples of GD weren't polite at all. My brother dislikes you for being dirty, but I'm not a clean freak. Why don't you warm my bed? A voice rang out. Everyone saw Huang Yudi walking over. His gaze was sharp. Back then, he was humiliated by Qin Wentian, and it was a huge blow to him. But now he seemed to have gotten over it. He wanted to take revenge for the humiliation Qin Wentian gave him back then. Although Qing Er's eyes were closed, a cold aura radiated from her. She still didn't move. She only had one purpose, and that was to wait for Qin Wentian to appear. I'm talking to you. Huang Yudi shouted. Terrifying sound waves swept out, as though he had transformed into the incomparably tyrannical Huang Yuti, who was invincible under the heavens. This idiot. Didn't he suffer enough from senior brother back then? He actually still has the face to appear here? Jun Mingchen, who was sitting far away, coldly spoke. Huang Yuti inclined his head, his killing intent flashing as he stepped out. Every step he took caused the earth to tremble. He stared at Jun Mingchen as he coldly spoke. I will make you regret living in this world. I want to see how you will make me regret. Jun Mingchen stood up. The aura of a 5th-level Immortal Foundation expert gushed forth, causing the wind and clouds to howl as the sky changed color. So you have broken through. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant before me. Huang Yuti floated in the air as his emperor light radiated forth. Jun Mingchen roared in rage as the world diagram appeared. He punched out with his fist, causing a tyrannical might to manifest in the air, transforming into a terrifying war chariot that smashed into the human emperor. Boom. Huang Yuti stepped out once more, exuding a fearsome aura. But at this moment he suddenly saw a pair of eyes. That person had been quietly standing there with his eyes closed. At this moment he abruptly opened his eyes, like a cycle of samsara. The human emperor attacked out, but to everyone's shock, Huang Yuti's attack actually deviated from the target. To a genius, this was undoubtedly fatal. Careful! A loud roar rang out. Jun Mingchen's attack descended. Huang Yuti howled as a deafening boom rang out. His body was flung through the air as several figures appeared before him. One of them exuded a towering might of thunder and lightning, slashing out a sharp attack, forcing Jun Mingchen to retreat. Who are you? Huang Yuti stabilized his state of mind, staring at the handsome young man who appeared behind Jun Mingchen. His name is Hua Taishu. His illusionary arts are extremely high and his gaze is terrifying. Don't match his gaze. Someone spoke. Courting death. Huang Yuti coldly snorted. After that defeat in the past, your state of heart has no way to return to the past. It has become twisted. Hua Taishu's voice was very calm, yet it was as though he had hit the nail on the head. This caused Huang Yuti's expression to turn extremely unsightly. Ha ha ha, so what if I'm twisted? I'll kill you all and capture the beauties. I'm still Huang Yuti. Sadly, Qin Wentian is already dead. If not, I would definitely let him personally witness how I kill his friends and toy with his women. Huang Yuti laughed uproariously, radiating supreme emperor might. You won't be able to see it. A cold voice suddenly rang out in the air, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Many experts inclined their heads and stared at the sky. After that, their gazes froze there. Chapter 1178. In the air, a figure stood there. His long hair fluttered in the wind and his handsome features exuded an unparalleled aura. This was none other than that supreme character who vanished from the Supreme Might rankings, Qin Wentian, who once took the 81 steps on the Shizhong Wall. Qin Wentian didn't die. He actually didn't die. In that case, what happened exactly? Those people who were hunting Qin Wentian disappeared? Where were they now? And why did Qin Wentian's silhouette vanish from the Supreme Might rankings? Huang Yuti stared at Qin Wentian. Bai Mao stared at Qin Wentian. Zidi's followers stared at Qin Wentian. Their countenances were all extremely unsightly to behold. Back then in the war, all the major powers joined forces to fight against Qin Wentian because they all had a common target, Qin Wentian. After that, the news of Qin Wentian's death circulated like wildfire. His silhouette vanished from the Supreme Might rankings, and everyone assumed that he had died. Qin Wentian has already died. All the conflicts had vanished. Although there were still grudges between the major powers, they didn't erupt until today when Bai Mao and Huang Yuti appeared. It was as though they wanted to ignite the grudges once more. Even though Qin Wentian had died, they didn't want to spare anyone else. The reason was very simple. The grudges between them were the deepest. Qin Wentian roasted a white tiger and ate its meat. While Huang Yuti was said to be a match for everyone under the heavens, he was defeated by Qin Wentian and suffered great humiliation. After Qin Wentian died, he had no way to vent his anger. Hence, he came here today to vent his anger. However, they didn't expect that Qin Wentian was still alive. Jun Mingchen, Nam Huang Yunxi and the experts from the Battle Saint tribe all had smiles on their faces when they saw Qin Wentian. This fellow finally appeared again. They knew that Qin Wentian wouldn't die so easily. His life was extremely tough. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at Huang Yudi. After that, he stepped out and arrived before Qing'er. At this moment, Qing'er had already opened her eyes. Although her aura was still cold, there was a hint of gentleness in her eyes as she stared at the familiar figure before her. Qing. Qin Wentian gently called out. After that, he stretched out his hand and stroked the hair at the corner of Qing'er's eyes. His actions were filled with gentleness and gentleness. On Qing'er's cold countenance, a rare smile appeared. It was a natural smile, so beautiful. There were many beauties in the surroundings, but under this smile, all beauties seemed to lose their luster. Qin Wentian also smiled. He lightly held Qing'er's hand and glanced at the GD's followers beside him. Many thanks to senior sisters for taking care of Qing'er. GD's followers had a good impression of Qin Wentian. In addition to the deep feelings Qing'er had for him, they naturally wouldn't have any prejudice against him. All of them smiled and nodded. Qin Wentian, it's good that you didn't die. Let's fight again. Huang Yudi icily spoke. Numerous terrifying auras gushed towards Qin Wentian. Not only for Huang Yudi, the experts of the White Tiger people, Zidi's followers and the students of the Supreme Sword School all rushed over. Since Qin Wentian was still alive, all the grudges between them had yet to end. Where is the person who pursued you back then? An expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state stepped out. Back then, Huang Dangtian, who was at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation, chased after Qin Wentian but vanished without a trace, vanishing together with Qin Wentian. Now, Qin Wentian appeared but Huang Dangtian had yet to appear. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at the person who spoke. He didn't reply. I'm asking you a question. An expert from the Supreme Sword School stepped out. Sword Qi whistled through the air, exuding a fearsome might. There were also people from his Supreme Sword School who went missing after Qin Wentian. Rumble. Numerous ferocious auras gushed forth. The people from the Battle Saint tribe, Nam Huang clan and GD's followers all unleashed their auras. For a period of time, the aura from the Tongtian Heaven Stone towered up into the sky, causing the atmosphere to be oppressive once more. For those who had nothing to do with this battle, they all retreated and gave up their positions, watching everything with interest. The Tiandao Sacred Academy had a total of 4 sacred academies. Not everyone knew about the grudges between them. With regards to Qin Wentian, many people had only heard of him. This fellow really came at the right time. The princess of the Shooting Sun Kingdom was also watching from the outside. Her beautiful eyes shone with a bright light as she stared at Qin Wentian. He actually didn't die? How interesting. It's truly a coincidence. These people didn't dare to touch the people from Qin Wentian, because they felt that Qin Wentian had died. But isn't it also because the people from Qin Wentian's side still have some tyrannical strength? Without Huang Shaishan's participation, these people wouldn't be able to be so easily shaken. Today, when Bai Mao and Huang Yudi were preparing to fight, Qin Wentian coincidentally returned. What a good show. Qin Wentian stared at the arrogant faces before him. He released Qing'er's hand and took a step forward. His body slowly soared into the air as he stared at the experts below. Who the hell do you think you are? Are you even qualified to speak to me? Qin Wentian coldly spoke, staring at the expert from the Supreme Sword School. Sword Qi instantly gushed forth from the expert from the Supreme Sword School. His sword Qi was incomparably sharp, capable of annihilating everything as it pierced through the sky. Huang Yudi also coldly snorted. He stepped out and released his immortal foundation, manifesting a human emperor. Qin Wentian similarly didn't reply to him. Are you saying that I don't have the qualifications? The human emperor light flashed. Huang Yudi soared up into the air, wanting to fight again to wash away the humiliation he suffered in the previous battle. Qin Wentian stared at Huang Yudi, his eyes filled with mockery as he spoke. I didn't expect there to be someone like you in this world who doesn't know your own limits. After that miserable defeat, you still dare to ask me if I have the qualifications or not. Huang Yudi, do you know how to write the word humiliation? How dare you? Huang Yuди roared. Back then, how arrogant was he? He was known to be invincible in the world, and was only willing to submit to his elder brother. In his eyes, how many people could be compared to him? Hence, back then when he spoke to Qin Wentian, his tone was extremely arrogant. And because of this, the impact of that humiliation on him was extremely great. And now, Qin Wentian's words were like sharp blades cutting into his heart, causing him to have no way to endure it. Die. The human emperor light radiating from Huang Yuди gushed forth with boundless might. Although he was only at the 6th level of Immortal Foundation, the might he exuded was truly terrifying to the extreme. Even geniuses at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation wouldn't be able to unleash such power in a single strike. This human emperor light could destroy everything, directly shooting towards Qin Wentian. At this moment, Qin Wentian's entire body shone with a brilliant light as he transformed into a fiend god. His entire body was enveloped by runic light, and the human emperor light shot over. Yet it had no way to penetrate through Qin Wentian's defense. He stood there, allowing the boundless destructive might to bore down on him, not moving an inch. How can this be possible? The expressions of everyone changed when they felt the aura radiating from Qin Wentian. 6th level Immortal Foundation. Back then when Qin Wentian was being hunted down, not only did he not die, he even broke through to the 5th level. How could it be so easy to break through? It wasn't something that could be accomplished in a day and night. Back then, Qin Wentian was in the midst of being hunted down. How did he manage to break through? How could it be so easy to break through to the next level? In that case, Qin Wentian's disappearance from the Supreme Might rankings was because he broke through to the next level? You named yourself Huang Yuди, proclaiming yourself to be a match for the entire world. How shameless! Just with your strength, you still dare to say that you are a match for the entire world? Qin Wentian stood there as he coldly spoke. Huang Yudi howled in rage, lifting his palms to attack. Numerous human emperors appeared, slashing out with terrifying emperor swords, causing the sky to change color as their might shook the heavens. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped out. His fiend god physique was stimulated to the extreme. Lifting his palms, he wanted to shake the heavens and earth, destroying everything. He chanted incantations, suppressing the human emperors, destroying the emperor swords. Countless gigantic incantations floated in the air, exuding a towering might as they shot towards Huang Yudi, enveloping him within. Huang Yudi roared. He only felt a supreme suppression energy gushing forth from the incantations, boring down on him. He struggled in agony. His attacks had no way to break through. The incantations were like a cage, trapping him within. Huang Yudi, you are merely an ant. Qin Wentian's voice drifted over together with the incantations, like a dream. After that, he only saw an emperor descending from the sky, exuding an incomparably terrifying might, slamming into him, directly sending him flying through the air. Huang Yudi was known to be a match for the entire world. When he fought against Qin Wentian again, he was insta-killed. The disparity between them was too great. He wasn't a match at all. Such a cruel reality caused Huang Yudi's heart to turn cold. He, Huang Yudi, was merely an ant? Numerous experts stepped out. The powerful existences of the 9 emperors' immortal state stood before Huang Yudi, protecting him. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at them. Do you guys think that he still has the qualifications for me to act for him? If I was him, how could I still have the face to see others after being repeatedly humiliated? I might as well die. Enough. A person berated. Qin Wentian's words were all aimed at the heart. Although Huang Yudi was defeated, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. However, if Qin Wentian continued to say these words, he might really not be able to recover from this setback. He's already courting his own humiliation, yet he doesn't allow others to say anything. The people of the 9 emperors' immortal state only know how to fantasize about how strong they are. Jun Mengchen coldly snorted. Back then, the more arrogant Huang Yudi was, the more intense the humiliation he suffered. Let's look at the Supreme Might rankings. At this moment, someone exclaimed in shock, only to see a figure slowly appearing on the Supreme Might rankings on the sky connecting Immortal Rock. This was none other than Qin Wentian. who exuded magnificence throughout the generations. Earlier, he vanished from the Supreme Might rankings, but now, he reappeared and his ranking was even higher than before. Another Supreme Genius was replaced. Back then when he fought against Huang Yudi, he replaced a Supreme Genius. And now, when he fought against Huang Yudi, he replaced another Supreme Genius. This Huang Yudi is truly pitiful. He's simply a stepping stone for him to ascend the Supreme Might Immortal rankings. Someone laughed. Enemies under the heavens, it's because he was too arrogant. That's why the humiliation today is so intense. If he was more humble, even if he lost, he would only work hard to improve himself. Where would the humiliation come from? These voices drifted into the ears of Huang Yudi, causing him to groan in misery as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Qin Wentian truly ignored Huang Yudi. He walked towards another person, Bai Mao of the White Tiger people. Even if I can't kill you in the Supreme Might Immortal realms, if I don't roast you alive today, my name isn't Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian coldly spoke, his words causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. This fellow wanted to roast Bai Mao alive. Chapter 1179. Bai Mao stared at Qin Wentian as baleful qi circulated around him. Qin Wentian wanted to roast him? His cultivation base was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation. Back then, he and Huang Yudi chased after Qin Wentian and killed Qin Wentian in the Sky Connecting Realm. But now, Qin Wentian has already broken through to the 6th level. In addition to the battle with Li Yufeng back then, Bai Mao was no longer that confident in his own strength. This Qin Wentian was able to insta-kill Huang Yudi. This also meant that Qin Wentian was also a great threat to him. Weren't you very arrogant earlier? When did you become a mute? Jun Mengchen coldly spoke when he saw that Bai Mao wasn't replying. Earlier, Bai Mao's words were extremely arrogant, insulting Nam Huang Yunxi and the rest. Roar! A series of low-sounding roars rang out. The other greater demons of the White Tiger people all stood beside Bai Mao. The experts of the Nam Huang clan naturally stepped out, surrounding Qin Wentian. In the life and death arena earlier, the White Tiger people suffered a crushing defeat. Today they would fight again. Boom. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He merely took a step out as his fiend god body radiated a dazzling light. The energy of God's hand radiated from him, radiating an unexcelled aura. His aura was so powerful that it caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. Kill! Qin Wentian roared. The experts of the Namhuang clan and the Battle Saint tribe all attacked, leaving only Bai Mao to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's flawless immortal foundation shone with a supreme light. Within his immortal foundation, numerous ancient words of truth floated out, exuding a powerful suppression and destructive might. Each word contained supreme immortal law energy. The heavens and earth buzzed as ancient characters floated in the air, shooting out from all directions. White Eye roared in rage as his baleful aura transformed into a white tiger that lunged out in a frenzy. However, Qin Wentian's saint-grade immortal foundation was incomparably resplendent and could transform freely, transforming into a gigantic ancient character. Boundless ancient characters shot out, destroying the white tigers one by one. Bai Mao's expression was incredibly unsightly to behold. He roared and reverted to his true form, slamming out with his palms. Every strike was an innate technique of the greater demons of the White Tiger people, containing boundless might, shattering the ancient words. You claim to be a lofty greater demon, but in reality, you are nothing but a beast. Nothing but trash. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. At the same time as the ancient words frenziedly attacked, Qin Wentian also blasted out with his palms, manifesting numerous great rocks that slashed apart the void. Bai Mao frenziedly defended. He didn't expect Qin Wentian to be so tyrannical. Just by standing there and attacking with his immortal foundation, Qin Wentian already caused him to feel like his hands and legs were tied. And when he attacked, Qin Wentian directly threatened him. He was from the White Tiger King race, a royal bloodline. Yet he was in such a miserable state. His cultivation base was even higher than Qin Wentian. Boom! With a single step, Qin Wentian traversed space, directly appearing before the gigantic White Tiger King. Releasing his body of truth, an even stronger ancient word imprint blasted out. Boundless energy gushed forth from him. Each of the ancient words transformed into a divine elephant that could suppress the heavens and earth. Bai Mao roared in grief and anger. Although he hasn't been defeated yet, from his voice, one could already sense the ending of this battle. The White Tiger royalty Bai Mao had no way to break through under Qin Wentian's attacks. He was completely suppressed. Qin Wentian stood there arrogantly. His fiend godlike body was like a supreme god king, staring at the gigantic Bai Mao who was struggling. This caused everyone to have an illusion that the person before Qin Wentian wasn't Bai Mao of the White Tiger people, but an ant, an ordinary demonic beast that was about to be subdued by Qin Wentian. The disparity between the two of them was basically impossible to make up for. Bai Mao fighting against Qin Wentian was like an ant trying to shake a tree. They weren't on the same level at all. Such a battle caused many to be shocked, causing Bai Mao to feel despair. Finally, the attacks landed on Bai Mao, causing his entire body to tremble. Roar! A shocking baleful aura gushed forth violently. Bai Mao, who was in his original form, was filled with reluctance. This battle was the most humiliating one he had ever fought in his entire life. When Qin Wentian heard Bai Mao's roar, he directly blasted out with his palms. God's hand transformed into a terrifying ancient halberd of destruction that blasted out together with the ancient characters. Piercing sounds rang out unceasingly as the halberd pierced into Bai Mao's gigantic body. At this moment, that gigantic body of Bai Mao had become a living target for Qin Wentian's attacks. Miserable screams rang out unceasingly. Qin Wentian's attacks seemed to be never-ending, causing White Eye to feel incomparable agony as he struggled frenziedly. As the White Tiger Greater Demon, his defense was extremely strong. No matter how much Qin Wentian bombarded him, he wouldn't be able to break through. And as the battle dragged on, when he wanted to die, Qin Wentian's attacks actually weakened. Qin Wentian had been controlling the intensity of his attacks, not wanting to kill him. Light the fire. White Eye's gigantic body slammed into the ground, emitting rumbling sounds. An expression of agony could be seen in his large eyes. And when he heard Qin Wentian's shout, his entire body trembled as he let out howls of grief and anger. A Namhuang clan expert walked over. This White Tiger people was extremely disgusting. The moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to capture them and use them to give birth to White Tiger cubs. This was intolerable. Now that he saw Bai Mao in such a pitiful state, this Namhuang clan expert wasn't polite at all. He directly sent towering phoenix flames down, landing on Bai Mao's body. Bai Mao let out cries of agony as his entire body was being roasted by the flames. Even his skin was gradually being burned away, turning into a bloody mess. The hearts of everyone trembled when they saw this scene. That arrogant genius was actually roasting White Tiger meat. Crazy too crazy. The White Tiger royalty expert, Bai Mao, was roasted over there. Most likely, the White Tiger people had never suffered such humiliation in their entire history. If this was in the outside world, would Qin Wentian really intend to roast Bai Mao and eat him? Roar, roar, roar. The experts of the White Tiger people roared in unison. However, Qin Wentian's expression was as cold as ever. Are you very angry? Qin Wentian's voice was cold. The White Tiger people weren't like this before. The Namhuang clan experts fought even more ferociously, resisting the counterattacks of the experts of the White Tiger people. All these years, they had fought with the White Tiger people many times, and they were all extremely ruthless. Bai Mao's tears flowed out from his eyes. It was unknown if they were tears of pain or tears of humiliation. He, the White Tiger royalty expert, Bai Mao, was roasted alive. Finally, a beam of light flashed as Bai Mao's body vanished. He was sent out by the Sky Connecting Realm. The Sky Connecting Realm was ultimately the Sky Connecting Realm. It was impossible for them to roast Bai Mao and eat him alive. What a pity, I didn't manage to trick him into entering the life and death arena. If not, I would be able to enjoy a meal of White Tiger royalty meat. Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke. The experts of the various powers were all stunned by Qin Wentian's tyrannical methods. Although there were many who had grudges with Qin Wentian here, there were also many experts from the Battle Saint tribe, GD's followers, and the Namhuang clan here. Without an absolute king like Huang Shatian present, the 9 emperors' immortal state wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Other than those who fought against the White Tiger people, there were still many experts on Qin Wentian's side fighting, preparing to defend against others. Summon everyone here. In addition, kill these vile creatures. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. After that, many experts from the Battle Saint tribe joined the battle, surrounding the White Tiger people. There weren't too many experts from the White Tiger people here, and the battle was basically one-sided. Even if they were massacred, Qin Wentian couldn't be bothered to humiliate them one by one. He simply allowed them to die and scram out of this sky-connecting realm. At the same time, there were experts from the Battle Saint tribe who heard Qin Wentian's orders. They immediately used the sky-connecting immortal rock to summon the experts from the Battle Saint tribe, who were tempering themselves in the sky-connecting realm. For a period of time, many experts of the sky-connecting realm sped towards this direction. The Holy Maiden of the Snowdrift Sage Hall, Chu Qingyi, also arrived. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian as a complicated expression could be seen on her face. She naturally knew of Qing'er's existence. Qing'er's status was even more noble compared to her. She was the youngest daughter doted on by Chongqing the Great, and was also a disciple of GD. She was only one of the holy maidens of the Snowdrift Sage Hall. In terms of looks, Qing'er was also more outstanding compared to her. Naturally, maybe even Chu Qingyi herself didn't know why she would compare Qing'er in her heart. Shouldn't she hate Qin Wentian? But when she saw that figure exuding magnificence through the generations, she couldn't bring herself to hate him. Chu Qingyi. Qin Wentian saw her and called out. Chu Qingyi's beautiful eyes flashed. When she saw Qin Wentian looking at her, she actually felt a faint sense of nervousness. What's the matter? Chu Qingyi asked coldly. Back then, you said that you are already my woman. I don't think I've done anything to you. Shouldn't you clarify things a little? Qin Wentian spoke, his words causing Chu Qingyi to feel a little desolate in her heart. He wanted him to clarify things. You don't dare to admit what you've done? Chu Qingyi stubbornly spoke. I naturally dare to admit what I've done. But although I had the intention to humiliate you, I still have a bottom line, right? Qin Wentian spoke. Chu Qingyi's expression was cold. She actually turned and left. Qin Wentian grabbed out in the air. Instantly, a startling aura descended above Chu Qingyi as a terrifying runic palm imprint appeared. Speak clearly before you leave. Qin Wentian was as cold as ever. Fine. Nothing has ever happened between the two of us. I was the one who intentionally tarnished your reputation. Is that enough? Chu Qingyi turned her head and stared at Qin Wentian. The grudges between us are written off. You acted against my junior brother, and I've humiliated you. Leave now. Qin Wentian waved his hand and spoke. Chu Qingyi stared deeply at Qin Wentian before her figure flickered and she left. Love born from hatred? What a melodramatic story. The prince of the Shooting Sun Kingdom laughed when he saw this scene. He seemed to have sensed the abnormality of Chu Qingyi. Women are naturally emotional. How can they be as cold-blooded as you men? Qin Wentian has captured Chu Qingyi for a period of time. After seeing Qin Wentian's elegance, it's not strange for Chu Qingyi's attitude to change, the princess replied. You women are really strange. The prince smiled noncommittally. In that case, Leiba has become a joke. Leiba and Huan Jiudi came together. Leiba had been there the entire time. Who didn't know that Leiba stood up for Chu Qingyi to deal with Qin Wentian and pursue Chu Qingyi? Back then, when Chu Qingyi said those words, it was already a humiliation for Leiba. Now, although the truth had been clarified, Chu Qingyi actually had unexplainable feelings for her enemy, but she didn't have any feelings for Leiba. This was truly ironic. Rumble. Leiba's body shimmered with a myriad of lightning bolts as he walked towards Qin Wentian. Only by fighting would he be able to wash away the humiliation he suffered. Qin Wentian saw Leiba walking over. He had no hesitation and stepped out. Leiba humiliated Jun Mingchen. This debt should be settled. Even if Leiba didn't look for him, he would have looked for him. Upon seeing Qin Wentian, the hearts of many trembled. Leiba was known as the Thunder God's son, and was now at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation. Did Qin Wentian want to face him alone? Chapter 1180. Qin Wentian and Leba stood facing each other in the air. Many experts dispersed, leaving the space for the two of them to battle. Upon feeling the fearsome might exuding from them, the spectators were all stunned by how strong the two of them were. Leba bathed in boundless lightning. In the air, there was a thunderstorm with lightning bolts shooting out unceasingly. It was like a taboo energy that could destroy all living things. Upon reaching the high tier of Immortal Foundation, the disparity between each level would be even greater, like an insurmountable chasm. Let alone the fact that Leba was already at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation. How powerful was he? In addition to the fact that Leba was the son of the Thunder God, even ordinary 9th level Immortal Foundation experts wouldn't be his opponent. He was already very close to the peak of Immortal Foundation. His Immortal Foundation was extremely terrifying, able to gather lightning and thunder from the heavens and earth, transforming it into the law of lightning. What a terrifying aura. The hearts of everyone trembled. They glanced at Qin Wentian again. He was a 6th level Immortal Foundation expert, and had a fiend god physique. His entire body shone with an unexcelled light, yet he dared to fight against Leba at such a level. This was truly rare. In the entire Sacred Academy, most probably only a handful of people would have such strength and courage. Do you really think that just because you defeated a white tiger, you have the strength to challenge me? Leba domineeringly stepped out. Back then, he had injured Jun Mingchen and stood up for Chu Qingyi. How tyrannical was that? And now, when facing against Qin Wentian, his tyranny was as domineering as ever. From his Immortal Foundation, destructive bolts of lightning blasted out with inconceivable speed, directly aiming for Qin Wentian, only to see Qin Wentian's perfect Immortal Foundation manifesting a divine turtle that enveloped him. Boundless lightning blasted out, causing the turtle to tremble unceasingly, but it was still incomparably sturdy, seemingly indestructible. Kacha! Violent crackling sounds rang out. Leba stepped out domineeringly and blasted out a lightning palm imprint. This palm imprint was like the palm of the Thunder God, capable of destroying the sky as it blasted downwards. Qin Wentian pushed his strength to the extreme, incomparably tyrannical. The power of God's hand flowed out from his arm as the destructive palm imprint blasted out, clashing head-on with Leba. A towering boom rang out in the air, as though the heavens and earth were on the verge of collapse. Destructive currents of energy gushed forth, and just a single collision was like the might of doomsday. Leba naturally knew that it was impossible for him to destroy Qin Wentian with a single palm strike. Hence, when he launched his attack, he continued advancing, borrowing the power of the thunderstorm in the air as he stabbed out with his finger towards Qin Wentian. In an instant, numerous destructive lightning dragons manifested, shooting towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian had no way to escape. Qin Wentian's Immortal Foundation transformed into that of a divine dragon, incomparably perfect. Terrifying dragon diagrams circulated on his body as the power of God's hand gushed forth. With a roar of rage, he lifted his hand and attacked. To the shock of everyone, they discovered that there were actually numerous demonic dragons that rushed towards Leba's attack. The demonic dragons clashed against each other, fighting violently in the air. Leba stepped out again, closing in on Qin Wentian. Staring at the frenzied Leba, Qin Wentian didn't retreat at all. He actually stepped out as a fearless battle light gleamed in his eyes. What two of them are so powerful? The hearts of everyone trembled. They were even more shocked by how terrifying Qin Wentian was. Was he really a 6th level Immortal Foundation expert? Every strike of his could shake the heavens and earth. Most probably, 7th level Immortal Foundation geniuses would only be able to insta-kill him. No wonder Huang Yudi and Bai Mao were defeated so miserably. Leba's eyes flickered with the light of thunder. He stared at Qin Wentian and coldly spoke, "Myriad tribulation slaughter." As the sound of his voice faded, boundless thunder and lightning transformed into a destructive might. This was a forbidden lightning that could destroy everything. It filled the entire space, covering the entire space where the two of them fought. The myriad tribulation slaughter was like a great tribulation of the heavens and earth, There was no way to evade it. Qin Wentian could only endure it. The shadow of the divine turtle continued to envelop him. As the myriad tribulation slaughter rained down, the divine turtle was being devoured bit by bit, on the verge of collapse. However, the might of the myriad tribulation slaughter seemed to have no end. Or to put it in another way, only when Qin Wentian was destroyed would the myriad tribulation slaughter stop. This was Qin Wentian's tribulation. What a terrifying destructive might. Although Qin Wentian's talent is unparalleled, it's still extremely difficult for him to challenge Leiba at the 6th level. Most probably he will be defeated. Countless people stared at this battle, as they felt a stifling feeling in their hearts. Leiba's strength was too shocking. He who was known as the son of the Thunder God was a supreme genius of the Thunder God Hall. His combat prowess was unparalleled, and his cultivation base was also extremely high. Not only that, he was famed for his powerful attacks. This myriad tribulation slaughter contained a faint black gold luster. This wasn't his astral soul, but rather, it was the indomitable metal-attributed energy, as well as the destructive attribute energy contained within. Leiba was most proficient in lightning-attributed energy, while the other attributes were all used to support his attacks. In the future, he would definitely become the Lightning Emperor of a generation. The shadow of the divine turtle that enveloped Qin Wentian was destroyed by the 10,000 tribulations. Qin Wentian released his body of truth as countless ancient characters flew out from his immortal foundation. Each character contained a towering amount of energy, transforming into a radiance of truth that enveloped him, suppressing and destroying all corrosive energy in the external world. The 10,000 tribulations unceasingly rained down, destroying the ancient characters. However, the ancient characters were constantly being reborn after being destroyed. Qin Wentian was enveloped by the boundless energy, appearing extremely solemn and solemn, resembling an expert from the Buddhist sect. Is this enough? You want to challenge me just like this? Leiba inclined his head. Boundless lightning might gushed forth from his immortal foundation, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. A terrifying vortex of destruction appeared in the air, wanting to crush this entire space. This scene of doomsday caused the hearts of those who were watching from afar to tremble. And right now, Qin Wentian was right in the eye of the tempest. Let me let you feel true destruction. Thunder God's hammer. Leiba coldly spoke. Within the apocalyptic lightning might, the shadow of a thunder god appeared. This thunder god's shadow towered over the heavens and earth, resembling a 10,000-meter giant. He wielded the thunder god's hammer, gathering the forbidden might of thunder and lightning as a might that could crush all living beings gushed forth. For a period of time, countless people felt a stifling pressure. Even geniuses at the 9th level of immortal foundation felt their hearts trembling. After that, Leiba's body also grew larger under the baptism of the lightning, fusing together with the thunder god's shadow, transforming into a thunder god with the thunder god's hammer in his hands, staring disdainfully at Qin Wentian. This was Leiba, a heaven's chosen of the Thunder God Hall. He had the title of the Thunder God's son. How could his strength be undeserved? He naturally had the qualifications to be arrogant. Everyone involuntarily started to worry for Qin Wentian. This rising genius was someone who managed to ascend the Supreme Might rankings twice. Leiba wanted to use the most domineering method to crush his confidence. This Thunder God's hammer was extremely difficult to defend against. With a single hammer strike, Qin Wentian would most probably be transformed into a pool of blood. Rumble, terrifying rumbling sounds rang out. The crowd only saw Qin Wentian's body growing taller, becoming incomparably gigantic, standing tall in this space. The spectators from afar inclined their heads, staring at that terrifying silhouette. They couldn't help but to retreat as they felt a stifling pressure bearing down on them. Qin Wentian's physique was actually the same as Leiba's. This was simply too shocking. Two gigantic silhouettes with their heads above their heads confronted each other. That kind of pressure was too violent and terrifying. It was as though they felt that the space was too narrow. They soared into the air at the same time, and soared towards the sky. Even though they reached an extremely high altitude, the people below could still clearly see the two godlike existences if they raised their heads. Boundless energy circulated within his immortal foundation, transforming into an ancient halberd that could destroy everything. The black halberd shone with a brilliant light. The roars of dragons in rock, the cries of vermilion birds and the roars of Zhenhou could be heard. Greater demons floated around the ancient halberd, their combined might shaking the heavens and earth. Boom! Countless bolts of lightning descended from the sky. Leba wielded the thunder god's hammer as he smashed it downwards, aiming for Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian wielded the ancient halberd, exuding boundless destructive might as he broke through the air. Countless ancient characters gushed forth in a frenzy. The 8 greater demons actually fused together to form an even stronger force, yet it was extremely hard to fathom. They slammed into the thunder god's hammer, and a shocking collision caused the destructive might to be blasted downwards. The battle between the two of them caused countless people in the central regions of the sky-connecting realm to incline their heads, staring at this battle in the air. Chu Qingyi had originally already left, but at this moment, she involuntarily inclined her head and stared at the two silhouettes. Her heart was incomparably complicated. One could say that because of her, such a heaven-shaking battle was forced out, shocking the entire sky-connecting realm. The two of them fought in the air. The supreme thunder god's hammer and the ancient halberd that could annihilate all living beings caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. These two were simply too terrifying. I remember back then when Qin Wentian entered the Sacred Academy, he was only at the lower 3 levels of Immortal Foundation. Other than his perfect Immortal Foundation and Astral Souls, his cultivation base wasn't that conspicuous. But after 36 years in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, he's actually about to stand at the peak of Immortal Foundation? Tiandao Sacred Academy is truly a place where true geniuses can create miracles. Someone mumbled in a low voice. 36 years, to Immortal Foundation characters, was truly too short. Maybe it was just the duration of a single session of closed-door seclusion. Right now, from the perspective of combat prowess, since Qin Wentian could fight against Leba, there was no doubt that he was already nearing the peak of Immortal Foundation. The two of them engaged in a frenzied battle. Leba's thunder god's hammer started to gain the upper hand, but Qin Wentian actually grew more and more ferocious as he fought. The spectators discovered that the 8 greater demons revolving around his ancient halberd seemed to be faintly converging into a mysterious energy that grew stronger and stronger. For this point, Qin Wentian could naturally sense it even more clearly. The treasured art of the 8 greater demons was something he obtained from the treasured cauldron in the city of ancient emperors. Could it be that they were originally a single entity? Qin Wentian unceasingly tried. The 8 greater demons revolved around the ancient halberd, attacking again and again. Faintly, Qin Wentian could sense an overwhelming might capable of devouring mountains and rivers. Roar! Leba roared in rage. Qin Wentian lifted his ancient halberd once more as boundless energy gushed forth from his immortal foundation. The destructive might contained within shook the heavens and earth. Under the encirclement of the 8 greater demons, that overwhelming might grew even stronger, blasting forth and colliding with the thunder god's hammer. At this instant, the supreme innate technique actually devoured the thunder god's hammer and blasted towards Leba. With a thunderous boom, a shocking hole appeared in Leba's chest, directly penetrated through by that overwhelming might. Chapter 1181. Leba's hand movements came to a halt. His incomparably huge thunder god hammer had been destroyed, and the terrifying thundercloud storm in the sky also gradually dissipated. At this moment, countless people inclined their heads to stare at the shocking scene, staring at the gigantic hole in Leba's chest. How is this possible? Leba lowered his head and stared at his chest. There was a gigantic hole there, and it was extremely shocking to see. His body was actually penetrated through with a single strike. He was at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation, yet he was actually defeated by a 6th level Immortal Foundation expert. All of this seemed unreal. Boom. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't show mercy. He lifted his ancient halberd and stabbed out once more. The destructive might bore down on Leba once more, wanting to pin this gigantic body of the thunder gods to death in the air. You are truly very weak. If you were so arrogant in the outside world, You would already be dead now. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. His voice descended from the sky, shocking everyone. Qin Wentian was someone who jumped 2 levels to defeat Leiba. He naturally had the qualifications to say such words. In truth, Leiba wasn't weak at all, but Qin Wentian's words were irrefutable. This powerful existence, who was the son of the Thunder God and wielded the Thunder God hammer, was actually killed by a 6th-level Immortal Foundation young man in the sky-connecting realm just like that. If the two of them met in the outside world, Leiba would already be a dead man. Leiba inclined his head and stared at Qin Wentian, as though he was filled with reluctance in his heart. Leiba, how could he be defeated? Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't care about what Leiba was thinking. He blasted out another attack, causing Leiba's gigantic body to shrink. Leiba's body directly shrank as a stream of law energy bore down on him. Leiba's body crumbled in the sky-connecting realm, but in reality, he was sent out. But even if he left the Heavenspan world, without a doubt, Leiba was bound to suffer heavy injuries at this moment too. Up in the sky, of the 2 giants fighting, only Qin Wentian was left. All the experts of the sky-connecting realm were watching. This battle allowed everyone to have a deeper understanding of Qin Wentian. Right now, not only was his talent outstanding, his combat prowess was also shocking. Huang Yudi of the 9 Emperors Immortal State, crushed by Mao of the White Tiger royal family, defeated Leiba and Qin Wentian of the Thunder God Palace, and trampled over the 3 heavens' prides. This battle showed his strength of character. Someone sighed. This battle was enough to be recorded in the history of Tiandao Sacred Academy. Although it was not a peak battle at the level of Huang Shatian, it was still worthy of praise. Qin Wentian was very strong. Below, the expressions of the people of the Thunder God Palace were extremely unnatural. Leiba, the son of the Thunder God, was actually defeated. He was the most outstanding figure of their Thunder God Palace who had stepped into the Sacred Academy, but he was actually defeated by someone who crossed 2 great realms. The pride of the great demons of the White Tiger people was constantly being attacked. Their royal family by Mao could not withstand a single blow, and Qin Wentian could even defeat Leiba. Yet they once called Qin Wentian a lowly human. Zidi's followers, the experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, and the people of the Supreme Sword School all felt waves of shock in their hearts. If Qin Wentian walked out of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, he would definitely be an extremely powerful opponent to them. They didn't expect Qin Wentian to grow so quickly. Back then in the Evergreen Kingdom, although Qin Wentian's talent was outstanding, he wasn't that dazzling. But after today's battle, they truly felt the threat Qin Wentian posed to them. From afar, Chu Qingyi stared at the towering figure of Qin Wentian, as complicated emotions filled her heart. He won, defeating the Thunder God's son Leiba. Qin Wentian was only at the 6th level of Immortal Foundation. In the depths of Chu Qingyi's heart, she grew more and more convinced that if the Tiandao Sacred Academy was destined to produce an ancient emperor, there was a high possibility that Qin Wentian would be one of them. When you look at a person without any prejudice, only then would you discover how resplendent the radiance radiating from him is. Qing'er and Jun Mengchen naturally saw it. In Qing'er's heart, she had never doubted Qin Wentian. She had personally witnessed how Qin Wentian grew up from a particle world, growing up step by step. No matter how tough the situation was, he would still be able to walk through it. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, no matter how many geniuses there were, he would still radiate a radiance that belonged to him. He was such an existence to begin with, no one would be able to conceal his radiance. Qing'er's cold eyes flashed with a gentle smile at this moment. Although it was only for an instant, it was as tender as ever. How can my senior brother be defeated by Leiba? I've long said that Leiba would definitely pay the price. I just didn't expect it to be so fast. Jun Mengchen spoke. He wanted revenge for himself, but if his senior brother Qin Wentian defeated Leiba, it would be the same to him as well. At this moment, the experts of the Battle Saint tribe in the sky-connecting realm were all gathered here. They had witnessed this battle as waves of shock rose in their hearts. The Saint Lord of this generation chosen by the previous generation was truly not bad. Qin Wentian descended from the air, returning to his normal form. His aura was still fluctuating slightly, He had expended a lot of energy in this battle. Although he managed to kill Leba, he knew that it wouldn't be so easy. During the battle, he discovered that the 8 demonic treasured arts in the treasure cauldron could actually fuse together to form an ultimate art. This was why he was able to destroy Leba at the end. Brother Qin, as expected of this Grandmaster's brother, you do have some of my glory. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Everyone saw monk Wuxia walking over with a smile, causing many to roll their eyes. This monk was truly shameless enough. However, when they glanced at the 2 great Buddhas on the left and right of Wuxia, no one dared to make fun of him. Buchan closed his eyes and remained silent. Buchan was still as handsome as ever, his entire body untainted by a speck of dust. Right now, Wuxia was using the tiger skin of his 2 senior brothers to travel around. Who would dare to antagonize him? With Buyu's strength, unless he was a character at the peak of the Tiandao Sacred Academy, it would be impossible for him to do anything to him. Even someone as powerful as Huang Shatian would find it hard to break through Buyu's defense. But I'm still not as thick-skinned as you. Qin Wentian stared at Wuxia and laughed. He had no ill intentions, he was just joking. You are fated with the Buddhist sect. The power of the Buddhist sect is extremely strong. Seeking for the truth, the art of truth transformation is boundless. Have you ever joined the Buddhist sect before? Buchan asked Qin Wentian. Nope, this art was cultivated in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian replied, not hiding anything from Buchan. Tiandao Sacred Academy? Buchan was somewhat taken aback. I've already visited all 4 sacred academies. Are there any arts of the Buddhist sect that can be cultivated in such a desolate place? I entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy to cross the immortal sea. Seeking for the truth, I stepped into an independent dimension and cultivated this art. Right now, I don't even know where I am. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. Buchan nodded as he contemplated. He then spoke in a low voice. The Tiandao Sacred Academy is filled with boundless mysteries. This is your good fortune. Even the sky-connecting realm we are in has a 2nd level. Since you entered the Supreme Might rankings twice, you naturally have the qualifications to enter. That's true. The reason I came here is precisely because of the sky-connecting immortal stone. Qin Wentian didn't hide anything. Right now, many people already knew about the matters of the sky-connecting realm. Many people knew that there might be another dimension in the sky-connecting realm. As he spoke, Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto everyone. Right now, he gradually met with his friends in the Sacred Academy. However, he also met with enemies one after another. Under the entanglement of gratitude and grudges, it was extremely hard for him to cultivate in peace. I know many of you want nothing more than for me to die. However, the rules of this Tiandao Sacred Academy prohibit death. Hence, it's destined that none of you will be able to kill me. In that case, from now onwards, I don't wish for any of you to harass me or my friends. If you want to kill me, I will accompany you all the moment I exit the Tiandao Sacred Academy. But in here, if anyone dares to act against my friends, I swear that I will make all of you pay a heavy price. In this Tiandao Sacred Academy, all of you can forget about cultivating for even a single day. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. Many experts from the Battle Saint tribe all released their cold qi as a terrifying pressure bore down on the entire space. Regardless of people from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom or Zidi's followers, all of them understood that what Qin Wentian said was the truth. They couldn't touch Qin Wentian, but if they continued to tangle with him, Qin Wentian would similarly be able to tangle with them. None of them would have an easy time. In this Tiandao Sacred Academy, the most important thing was still cultivation. Where did the people who were hunting you go? An expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state asked. Since Qin Wentian could kill Leba after he broke through, there was a possibility that those who were hunting him would also be killed by him. However, the timing wasn't right. Qin Wentian's name was only removed from the Supreme Might rankings after a period of time. This meant that that was the time when he broke through. But at that time, those who were hunting him had already disappeared for a very long time. Do you all believe that I killed them? Qin Wentian spoke. Everyone furrowed their brows. They truly didn't believe it. But where did those people go? Let's go. In the future, if you want to fight to the death in the Sacred Academy, I, Qin, will accompany you. Qin Wentian spoke. If he was alone, he wouldn't mind. But now that he had so many friends here, including Qing'er, he had some misgivings. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state all had misgivings as well. All of them coldly snorted as their silhouettes flickered and left this place. A snow-white silhouette dashed into Qin Wentian's embrace, speaking in a baby voice. Qin Wentian, did you miss this Bao Bao? Seems like your days are pretty good. Qin Wentian hugged little rascal as he laughed. Qin Wentian carried little rascal as he walked to the side of Qing'er. A gentle smile appeared on his face. I've finally chased away these flies. In this sacred academy, I'm afraid it's going to be hard to find peace. There's a second level in the sky connecting realm. I want to see you enter it. Qing'er spoke in a low voice, her words causing Qin Wentian to stiffen. He stared at the cold and beautiful countenance before him as a bitter smile appeared on his face. Qing'er, I just saw you and you want to chase me away? Qing'er was still as cold as ever. Her beautiful eyes stared at him, and she didn't say anything. Qin Wentian felt warmth in his heart. He naturally knew what Qing'er was thinking. She hoped that he could grow stronger. If there was a second level in the sky connecting realm, Qing'er hoped that he could enter it as soon as possible. Fine, I will listen to you. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. After that, he turned and walked towards the sky connecting immortal rock. Help me take care of Qing'er. The experts from the Battle Saint tribe nodded. They naturally knew that Qin Wentian was speaking to them, only to see Qin Wentian walking towards the sky connecting immortal rock. Immortal light circulated around him, landing on the sky connecting immortal rock. As he continued forward, the immortal rock started to turn illusory, like a gate of the void. Qin Wentian directly stepped into it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.